Republicans will ever allow this one-year tax holiday to expire. They wrote the Bush tax cuts with explicit expiration dates, and then when it came time for the law, they wrote to take effect exactly as they wrote it. They said any failure to extend them permanently would constitute the biggest tax increase in history. End of quote for a moment. So what Mr. Bartlett is saying, and I'm going to go back to his quote in a second, what he's saying is we all know to be true, that around here in Congress, if you provide a tax break for 1 year, in this case a payroll tax holiday, a year from now, if you restore the old rates, which are 6.2%, our Republicans' friends are going to say Democrats are raising your taxes. It ain't going to happen. This 1 year extension could well become a permanent extension, and if it becomes a permanent extension, you are diverting a huge amount of money to Social Security, and you are weakening the entire financial structure of Social Security in this country, which I expect is exactly what some would like to do. Now, President Obama says, well, not to worry, it's only 1 year, and don't worry, that 1 year is going to be covered by the federal government. So for the very first time, out of the Treasury Department, money is going to come into Social Security, which has always been 100% dependent, as it should be, on payroll taxes. For the first time, we're breaking that. And around here, you do it once, it is going to continue. What Barbara Kennelly, the president of the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare, says is cutting these contributions to Social Security signals the beginning of the end. So we should be very, very, very mindful of that. We should not support this payroll tax. It is one of the more dangerous provisions in this agreement. But let me get back now, if I might, Mr. President, to what Bruce Bartlett, who is the former top advisor for Presidents Reagan and George H.W. Bush, recently wrote. And I'm continuing his quote. If allowing the Bush tax cuts to expire is the biggest tax increase in history, one that Republicans claim would decimate a still fragile economy, then surely expiration of a payroll tax holiday would also constitute a massive tax increase on the working people of America. Republicans would prefer, this is Bruce Bartlett, Republicans would prefer to destroy Social Security's finances or permanently fund it with general revenues than allow a once suspended payroll tax to be reimposed. Arch Social Security hater Peter Ferraro once told me that funding it with general revenues was part of his plan to destroy it by converting Social Security into a welfare program rather than an earned benefit. He was right, end of quote. And once again, that quote is from Bruce Bartlett, a former top advisor for Presidents Reagan and the first President Bush. So what he is saying, and this is maybe one of the sleeping issues in this agreement between the president and the Republican leadership, is we may be taking a huge step forward in destroying the most important program in this country, which is Social Security, by diverting now $120 billion and in the future hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars into this program, so that in fact it will not be there for our kids and our grandchildren. Mr. President, the fourth point that I want to make in opposition to this agreement, and one that I've made before and read a little bit about, is that while some of the business taxes in this agreement may work to create jobs, some of them won't. But the more important point is that economists on both ends of the political spectrum believe that the better way to spur the economy and to create the millions and millions of jobs that we must create is to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. Just a few minutes ago, I read from excerpts from a very good book by a friend of mine, Ariana Huffington, entitled A Third World America. And the purpose of her book was to give us a warning that if we as a nation do not get our act together in a variety of ways, including our physical infrastructure, we are headed down the pike to be a third world nation. According to the American Society of Civil Engineers, we as a nation need to spend $2.2 trillion in the next 5 years alone in order to take care of our infrastructure needs. But unfortunately, this agreement signed by with the president and the Republicans doesn't put one penny into infrastructure. So I think that if we are serious about creating jobs, if we're serious about making sure that our economy can be competitive in the global economy, we've got to be watching what other countries are doing, and they're investing far, far more than we are. I can tell you, Mr. President, and the stimulus package, by the way, will help us very much in Vermont on this area. But right now, if you were to drive around the state of Vermont, and I think in many other places in this country, and you took out your cell phone, you would find it very hard to make calls in a number of areas of the state. A few months ago, I was literally a mile and a half away from our state capital in Montpelier, near Northfield, Vermont. I could not make a telephone call with my cell phone. And that's true in many parts of Vermont. That's true in many areas of America. We are lagging behind many, many other countries in terms of the accessibility of cell phone service and broadband. So I am happy to say that in Vermont, we received a very generous grant through the stimulus package. It is going to help us. Other states did the same. But that's the area that we have got to invest. You've got to invest in broadband. You've got to invest in making sure that cell phone service is available in rural America, all over America. I talked a moment ago about our train services. There are train services today which are worse than they were 30 or 40 years ago. It takes longer to get from destination A to destination B. China is investing huge sums of money building high-speed rail at a rate that we could not even dream about. So in this agreement, we do have money for business tax cuts. But I do not think that that is the best way to invest taxpayer money if we're serious about creating the jobs that we need. Corporate America already is sitting on close to $2 trillion cash on hand. I don't know that more tax rates are going to help them very much. I think that it is a lot smarter, and I think most economists agree with me, that we should be investing in our infrastructure, both to create jobs now and to improve our competitiveness in years to come. Further, Mr. President, I want to say a word on this. I mentioned it earlier today. President Obama talks about this being a compromise agreement. You can't get everything you want, and I certainly understand that. But one of the aspects of the compromise he points to is an extension of unemployment benefits for 13 months. Well, let me be very clear. I think at a time when 2 million of our fellow Americans are about to lose their unemployment, at a time when unemployment is extraordinarily high, long-term unemployment is, I think, higher than at any point on record. People are, looking for work month after month after month. They're not finding it. It would be morally unacceptable if this country did not extend unemployment benefits for those workers for 13 months. And yet the president sees this as a great sign of compromise. I would argue the contrary. I would suggest to you, Mr. President, that for the past 40 years, under both Democratic and Republican administrations, under Democratic and Republican leadership here in the Senate or in the House, whenever the unemployment rate has been above 7.2% unemployment insurance has always been extended. In other words, this has been bipartisan policy for 40 years. And I don't want to see us seeing and accepting as a really great give on the part of Republicans, a really, something that they're giving us as part of a compromise when it's been bipartisan policy for 40 years under Democratic and Republican leadership. So I don't accept that this is a great gift. I think what the American people understand is you don't turn your backs on unemployed workers. People have been unemployed for long periods of time. You don't allow those people to lose their homes. You don't force these people out onto the streets. You don't take away shreds what what shreds of dignity they have remaining. That is not what you do, and that has always been Republican philosophy as well as Democratic philosophy. This is not a great gift. So I do not accept that this is a compromise. Mr. President, let me be very clear, as I said earlier, that I do believe that there are positive parts of this agreement that must be maintained as we move forward toward a better agreement. And let me give you just some of them that make a lot of sense to me, that we have got to retain and build on. The obvious one is, in addition to extending unemployment benefits, it's clear that we have got to extend middle-class tax cuts for 98% of Americans, as I've been documenting over and over again today. We are looking at a situation where the middle class in this country is collapsing under President Bush. Median family income went down by $2,200. People are losing their health care, and it would be asinine, it would be unacceptable if the middle class did not continue to receive the tax breaks that were developed in 2001 and 2003. And that, to a large degree, what this fight is about. We've got to extend those tax breaks for the middle class, but not tax breaks for millionaires and billionaires. Further in this agreement, there are some other good provisions. You got the earned income tax credit for working Americans, and the child and college tax credits are also in this agreement, and they are very, very important. They will keep millions of our fellow Americans from slipping out of the middle class and into poverty, and they will allow millions of our fellow citizens to send their kids to college. Just talked about a moment ago that we have over 100,000 families in this country where kids graduate high school, want to go to college, can't afford to do it. This proposal will help them do that, and that's right. But, Mr. President, despite the fact that there are some good, important provisions in this proposal, when we look at the overall package, when we look at a $13.7 trillion national debt and a declining middle class, I think what we have got to say is that this package just doesn't do it. It's just not good enough. Now, the president says that he knows how to count votes, and I understand that. He says, well, you know, you had a couple of votes here to make sure that we would not give tax breaks to millionaires, and the president has been very clear. He does not want to do that. I understand that. But he says, what choice do I have? And I think the answer is, we have got to fight this issue. In my view, this solution ultimately will not be resolved here inside the Beltway, in the Senate or in the House. It will be resolved when millions of Americans get on their telephones and get on their computers and let their senators and their members of House of Representatives know that they are profoundly outraged. That at a time when the rich have never had it so good, and when we have a huge national debt, that this agreement contains huge tax breaks for those people who don't need it. That's how we defeat this. I'm not sure that alone, here in the debate, I'm going to turn any of my Republican or some Democratic colleagues around. But I do believe that if people all over this country stand up and say, wait a minute, how much do the richest people in this country want? I just documented a few moments ago. The top 400 wealthiest people in this country saw a doubling of their income under President Bush, a doubling of their income. Tax rates went down. When is enough? When is enough enough? How much do they need? So I think, and I would hope, by the way, that this is certainly not just a progressive issue. I'm a progressive. This is a conservative issue. I have heard year after year, Mr. President, our conservative friends telling us, my goodness, we just cannot continue to raise the national debt. We've got to do something about this unsustainable deficit. This agreement grows, increases the national debt. What kind of honest conservative can vote to increase the national debt? And if they do, please, no more lectures here on the floor of the Senate. Your hypocrisy will be known to everybody. Don't tell us that you're concerned about the national debt, give tax breaks to billionaires, and raise the national debt. so that our kids and grandchildren in the middle class will have to pay higher taxes in order to pay off the debt that was caused by you giving tax breaks to millionaires. Please, no more lectures on that issues. Just say, okay, rich people contributed to my campaign. I got to do what they want. That would be honest. Please, no more lectures about your concern about the national debt. Now, again, I want to reiterate this point. And that is, everybody says, don't worry, these are only 2 years. These are not, in my view, 2 years. If you do them for 2 years, the same old argument will be back 2 years from now, and we will be in the midst of a presidential election. And what our Republican friends will say, as sure as I am standing here, and I'm glad we have a gentleman putting this in the congressional record. I want people to go back to the congressional record. I am sure I will be proven right. That 2 years from now, our Republican friends will come back and they will say, oh my word, if you repeal these tax breaks, you're going to be raising taxes. We can't do that. And what will make the situation even more difficult 2 years from now than today is you have President Obama, if he's the Democratic candidate 2 years from now, he'll say, oh, I don't believe in these tax breaks for the rich. I'm going to do my best to repeal them. But his credibility has been damaged because that's what he said in the last campaign. That's what he's been saying all along. The president does not believe in extending these tax breaks to the wealthy. I know that. Everybody knows that. But if he caves in now, who is going to believe that he's not going to do the same thing 2 years from now? That's the damage. And then what's even, I think, more troublesome is that once we move down this path of more tax breaks for the very, very wealthy, we are accepting the heart and soul of trickle-down economics, which has been, to my mind, a proven disaster and a failure. I would remind the listeners and my colleagues that these tax breaks have been in existence since 2001. They were in existence throughout almost all of President Bush's tenure. The end result was that we lost 600,000 private sector jobs. Lost 600,000 private sector jobs. The worst job performance record maybe in the history of this country. Trickle-down economics does not work. Giving tax breaks to billionaires does not stimulate the economy. Helping working families and the middle class get decent jobs. Tax breaks for people who need the money and are going to spend the money is what creates jobs, not giving tax breaks to billionaires who don't need it and who are not going to spend it. So again, the point that I want to make here is that if people think, oh, this is just temporary, this is just
Hello, everybody.
2 years,
We're back. How's everybody doing? I hope everyone's well. Once again, we are posting post-debate live stream. I guess I didn't stream yesterday, so it's a little bit delayed for that reaction. But I guess we have more stuff to talk about for the debate. Yeah, I think, did people subscribe in the Mighty Moo Kid? Thank you for the 13, or thank you for the 2 months. I think that's it.
All cops are bad cops.
I've been watching
Oh,
you from the shadows
and Dibbles,
for a
thank
long
you for the
time
$4.20.
You are so gorgeous and the perfect
This
human
is a
being.
classic.
I created a shrine of you in my closet.
This is a classic.
Out of my unwanted bodily substances
Thank you.
so that I can be with you even when you are offline.
Thank you so much. Oh yeah, this is Wayward Hardmaker. You're not gonna get me with this. You're not gonna get me with this. I know this is a clip of Mike clicking on Syria al-Bashar, and you're gonna try to get me with it. You've done this before. Maybe not you specifically, but it's definitely been done before. And I'm not born yesterday. I'm not dumb. Yeah, I'm good at it. Look, you can't get me. I'm a genius. I'm a genius, folks. Oh shit! Speaking of, thank you so much for the raid, Mike. We were just talking about you because someone tried to get me to click on a video of Assad's theme song, but you clicking on it and not me. Redacted 420, thank you for the 3 months. We have just started. We're just started, so perfect time for the raid. Hassan raid? I think Mike and Hassan are now the same person, I believe. Follow Mike Central Committee, of course, if you have not already.
Cops are bad cops.
Syria.
Thank you, Anatherion, for the 4 months, and absolutely not. 0 out of 10. Do not approve. No Syria. No sir, you get it? Because it sounds like no Syria. Your environment, Seattle. Thank you for the 100 bits. Please support nuclear energy. Okay, sure. I mean, I think nuclear energy costs it requires a shit ton of resources early on compared to other renewables, but I think overall it's fine. Some people present nuclear like it's a panacea, where it's like, we'll just do nuclear, everyone nuclear everything 100%, and it's like, no, that's not quite the case. I say nuclear wrong, all right? I say it wrong. I'm not gonna fix the way I say it, okay? And it's not that, but it's fine. It's not, nuclear energy isn't bad. A lot of the stigma around it is stupid, right? It's like, there's not gonna be another Chernobyl or whatever. We'll not have nuclear slander. I'm not slandering it. Oh, copy mode. Fuck, I forgot. Fuck, shit. Sorry, Anvilize. I'll do it. You gave me 1,000 bits for being able to get the copy emote, and I haven't gotten it to you yet. I'm sorry. What is this? Okay, there's increased border escalation. Oh yeah, this is a great video. There's increased border escalation. We can watch this one. Between Azerbaijan and Armenia, we could watch some shit about that. Because it seems to be pretty more significant than previous border clashes. Because there's a lot of border clashes. Armenia owns a territorial pocket, right? And it creates a lot of conflict. But here's a military music video from Azerbaijan. Alright, this goes hard. Alright, no, this goes hard as hell. Oh, damn. I might have to betray my Orthodox brothers. I mean, this goes so hard. Azerbaijani soldier cutie GF. Someone already posted the bonk in preparation. Oh, this goes hard. No, this goes hard as hell. No, I want the rest. I want the rest of it, damn it. Is there any... Do you want me to be the 420 sub? This is a fake thing, so it's not going to move if you subscribe. But if you want to be the honorary 420 sub, you can absolutely do that. That's how I feel fine about doing this as like a bait. Oh god, what is this? What is this by Art House?
Of sex, women will choose a testosterone-charged world record most of the time. It's the testosterone-laden man who is most attractive when women are fertile.
I'd like to know more about different kinds of hormones.
Oh, you got the Carlos reply
Remember those
too.
50s hat-sporting fathers who stayed
Oh, I don't
married,
think.
supported their families, and repressed women? Well, they're headed for extinction. Just what kind of man is emerging to replace the chauvinists of yesterday? Canadian political actors. What then is a sensible girl to do?
I've been
Perhaps
saying
it's
this.
time to find a tame, lower status boy. I would have said, not enough testosterone. I'm Jordan Peterson. Sophistication. The archetypal bad boy. The perfect mate for the modern single mother. The one fathering your grandchildren in the future.
It is so
The battle
fucking
for
weird.
absolute control. For masculine impulses.
All this shit. How does anyone think this is like how the world works? Like you.
Here's a thought.
How much of a fucking insult, like, not interact with women do you have to be to think that this is how the world works? Genuinely.
KEKW Jordan Peterson.
It's so weird. Metallic Soul, thank you for the 3
Nintendo,
months.
Very popular in Japan to encourage desirable behavior. That'll keep the testosterone flowing. It's not necessary to stay with one woman.
Oh, and then afterwards, yes, we have to watch
I'm
that.
Jordan Peterson.
All right, there's a Krish vlog we have to watch too. So much debate coverage. Biden versus Trump, the first presidential debate. Oh, this is a discussion about it. Yes, that's a very funny video. Yeah, could you imagine how fucking awful Peterson's dirty talk is? I mean, Jesus Christ. Hold on, let's see. Lots of links. Positive leftist news. Oh, that's nice. We could watch. This is something we could watch at some point. I want to start with Azerbaijan, Armenia. If there's any. Also, the fucking, please, if you have the full version of this, please fucking send it to me. Jesus Christ. I'm so sad we only got a minute. I'm a white woman. I have to. Oh, what is this? Oh no. While the Biden campaign is aware and has been blessed, they did not create this. Anonymous industry player has. What is this? It's like a beauty blender thing. Anonymous industry players launch Biden Beauty to support the. Oh Jesus Christ. Full Azerbaijan music. Is it, if it's fucking Bashar, I'm banning you. If you send me Bashar. No, this is it. Thank you. No Bashar. Only Azerbaijan. Oh, did you send me? Okay, yeah. This is something else. This is also. I don't think this is it, is it? This also is great. Oh, is it team? Okay, yeah. That's the type of shit I was looking for. This isn't as good as the other one. Yeah, this one's different, right? Azerbaijani Demi Lovato. Getting hyped up for the stream. I don't think, I'm assuming, is this like an official, maybe they'll have the video here. I guess not. No. Oh, is this it? I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. Okay, we found it, This is it, right? Yes, there we go. We're watching the whole thing, because this rocks. You're defecting to Armenia because of this? How is it not the reverse? Where is the Armenia music video response? Absolutely. I mean, honestly, I think the Armenians are like... The Twitter account for Armenia fucking rocks. At Armenia. Like... Let me find this tweet. This tweet goes so hard. Hashtag faith and power. Look at this dude. Stop Azerbaijan, stop Kilo, Carbon now. So I don't know, it's 50-50 to me. Battle priest? That's the most broken class. Yeah, we're gonna have to see some cool ass response by the Armenians. They can't just let this stay up without being unanswered. That's not the Armenian response, actually.
Hi, Liv, haven't watched in a while because of new stuff. How's it going?
Hanoko Marbuzin, thank you for the 4 months. It's been going good. We're just vibing. Hope your uni stuff is doing good. Actually, I would imagine Assad is nominally aligned to Armenia geopolitically, because the Azerbaijan is like Turkish. Like they see themselves as Turks. They're very pro-Iran. Oh, this is propaganda, absolutely. We are watching propaganda. It goes hard though, so we're gonna keep watching it. I assume none of you are going to enlist in the Azerbaijani army because of this propaganda, but who knows? Yeah, the US Army has like a Twitch stream, and this is what Azerbaijan is doing. So, you know. Oh, this is sick. No, this rocks. This rocks. Me looking at that, you are not immune to propaganda thing, being like, you fucking idiot. Of course I'm immune to propaganda. Oh, this rocks. Pro Azerbaijan stream now because of the cool video. Okay, let's actually watch. We'll go into debate stuff right after this, but let's watch a short, just like, rundown of this.
So let's maybe move before we kind of get ready into.
The Armenian population is aligned with Assad and the Alawites. That's not a surprise. Because that's probably a part of sectarian stuff, right? Because Azerbaijan are Sunni. Partially. And they're also affiliated with the Turks. Mr. Lobotomy, thank you for continuing your gift sub.
Debate mode. Azerbaijan and Armenia are in conflict right now. What do we need to know about that, James?
Well, this is a conflict taking place in a region that is very conflict prone, the Caucasus region. You know, the Caucasus, for those who don't have like a great command of geography in their head, is this kind of mountainous buffer region that separates Russia in the north from, you know, Turkey and Iran and the Middle East in the south. It is, like many mountainous regions, an extremely diverse region. There are a lot of different ethnic groups living there. You know, Georgians, Armenians, Azeris are the sort of largest groups, but it's also home to Chechens, Dagestanis, Ossetians, Yazidis, Kurds, Tats,
There's a lot of
Talash.
There's a lot of like national identities that do not have states.
All these many different.
Hey Colin, how's it going?
Many different groups. And, you know, in recent years, we've seen a number of conflicts break out in this region. 2008,
Armenians
we
didn't
saw
align with Russia.
Russia's
Yeah, because
war
they're
with
both
Georgia,
Orthodox, right?
which basically resulted,
yeah,
which
they're
was
still
a kind
running
of
it.
product of Russian support for some of the minorities
Colin,
living
thank you for the 5 gift
in
subs.
Georgia, you know, Abkhazia,
Pog?
and South Ossetia. We saw, of course, the violence in Chechnya. We've
Friend
seen
of the
violence
stream.
in
Follow
Dagestan.
them.
So this is a very tense region. Since the collapse of the Soviet Union,
Which
there's
I was
been
going to do
a number
anyways.
of different,
That's
you know,
not...
the sort of political status quo that
yeah,
emerged in the 1920s
that wasn't because of...
after the formation of the Soviet
When we
Union
game,
broke
I'm down
down,
to game.
and we've seen, you know, violence throughout this region.
You playing Among Us at all?
So looking at the
Any Fall
conflict
Guys?
between
I guess people don't really
Azerbaijan
play
and
Fall Guys
Armenia,
anymore.
it's, you know, part
Maybe
of
some
this
Modern
sort
Warfare?
of post-Soviet breakup and, you know, the emergence of
Hey,
ethnic
Isaac. I'm
tensions
good. How are you?
within the region. I mean, you know, like I always do, I always go back to like history, but
Abkhazia mentioned.
historically,
Let's go.
the Caucasus were divided into the Ottoman sphere of
Abkhazia
influence and the Iranian sphere of influence.
Statehood
But in the
when
19th century, the Russians come in, they occupy
when do they get
this
their
region,
state?
and they operate a divide and rule.
This is actually this is totally wrong, by the
region.
way. This is very inaccurate.
There was significant
But yes,
resistance to Russian rule.
I think it
in this
subsided.
region.
It was less
Tolstoy
bad.
has a famous book, Haji Murat, which is about the resistance to the Russian occupation. So Caucasus, with its ethnic diversity, is brought under Imperial Russian control, and basically, as the Russian Empire breaks down. And as nationalism becomes more powerful, we see growing conflict between the different national groups within the region because, for a region to be ethnically homogeneous, it takes a lot of violence. I often tell my students in Springfield, I said, it took a lot of effort and a lot of murdering to make Springfield, Missouri 90% white. Right?
Absolutely.
So
That's
if we
a
look
very
in
good
if we look
way of
in the
analyzing
Caucasus,
that.
Armenian, Azeris, Kurds, all these groups,
Or
living side
like-
by side, are interspersed
or and I guess this also was included in violence, but like ethnic expulsions,
with each other.
which
So when you
are sort of the like it was interesting. I was reading something interesting that said that like post World War I sort of League of Nations, the international order generally treated ethnic expulsions as like a panacea to ethnic conflict, where they were like, yeah, just like all of the Greeks in Bulgaria just go to Greece, and all the Bulgarians in Greece just go to Bulgaria. There we go.
try and
Easy clap.
draw a territorial map. Well, you're
And
going
it's
to include,
very. I
Azeri
think this question is very
populations in
connected
Armenia and
to
Armenian populations in Azerbaijan, and there's going to be territories
genocide.
over which there are conflict. And Nagorno-Karabakh, which is this region that we're talking about now, is one of those regions where.
Q sub. Can I play Among Us? We
just
might
to give you an
we might
idea,
do a sub
you have,
Among Us game at some point.
West Armenia, and Azerbaijan,
3
and
weeks ago,
Why can I not
Nagorno-Karabakh is
pause?
separated
This
from
looks good.
the main body of Armenia, and so it's sort of surrounded.
I'm still looking
as
for
a
a plugin so it can, if I open a video off tab, it
enclave
doesn't play
inside
automatically.
Azerbaijan. And you had conflict here from 1905, from the 1905 revolution, and then
And also,
after the
a
end of-
lot of this is the product of the concept of national statehood, which sort of comes about as this liberal ideal. They say the 19th century, national identity, and the idea that a nation deserves like a state with a certain specific territory,
the First
and
World
all of those who are assigned to that territory or assigned to that nation deserve to be
War.
ruled.
We had
Post-Westphalia, yeah.
with the collapse of the Tsarist regime, there's an attempt to create a federation
Jacuzzi crap. Thank you for
in
the
the
2-1.
Caucasus, the Transcaucasian Federation. This breaks down, and one of the reasons it breaks down is there's conflict between Armenians and Azeris over territory,
So it's white
specifically
people's
over this
fault.
Nagorno-Karabakh
You just subbed.
region.
Oh, thank you.
Now, when the Soviets
If we play
enter
Among Us sub games, you will
Azerbaijan
be included.
in 1921, I think it is, this conflict is kind of put on ice, and the Soviet Union sort of attempts to come up with some kind of system to deal with the national question. And one of the big questions facing the Soviet Union was, how do you transform a multinational empire into a socialist federation? How do you deal with this ethnic diversity within the Russian Empire? So we had the emergence of this federative model, right? And in the Soviet Union, there were various levels of autonomy. So the highest level of autonomy was SSR, Soviet Socialist Republic. Those were Russia.
Oh yeah, I mean the fall of the Soviet Union was
Kazakhstan,
a
Belarus,
world historical tragedy.
Baltic countries, and of course Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Georgia. These were all federative republics constituting the Soviet Union. But of course, as I mentioned, you have all these enclaves, all these interspersed groups. So there were other levels of autonomy sort of below that highest level, the ASSR. So for example, Chechnya wasn't SSR. It had a lower level of autonomy within the Russian Federation. And the Nagorno-Karabakh,
which is still
the
how Russia
solution
does
the Soviets came to was to grant that region autonomous status within the Republic of Azerbaijan. So it was an Armenian-dominated enclave with autonomy within the Republic of Azerbaijan. Actually, one of the reasons I know a little bit about this
Which is better
the
than
territory
what it
that
is now.
separates Armenia
It's a better
from
solution, obviously,
Nagorno-Karabakh,
but one
is
that's
known
less
as the Lachin
tenable
Corridor, and that was originally
when
the
Azerbaijan is a
home of what they called Red Kurdistan.
sovereign nation.
It was a predominantly Kurdish region, a very small population of Kurds, and they named that region in the 1920s, Kurdistan.
Same shit as
That separated
Kosovo,
those
sort of.
two regions. So
Right. Yeah, that's a
we
good
have
point.
this situation where we have an autonomous enclave within Azerbaijan and an Armenian republic.
It's
Now,
also important to highlight that the Soviets, this is the same with Tito in Yugoslavia, had a very convenient opportunity or situation in which they were attempting to suppress national identity to a certain extent, and this sort of like socialist politic is very coherent with an anti-nationalism in an anti-nationalist politic.
While the Soviet
It's one of the reasons why Tito held together the Southern Slavic, Union, a federative republic, much better than like the reactionary Serbian king before World War II.
Union existed, this was not really a major deal because, of course, everybody is a citizen of the Soviet Union, right? But when you break up states, one of the things that happens is people have to pick an identity, right? People have to pick a passport. People have to pick a citizenship. So while the Soviet Union existed, this conflict could be managed to a certain degree.
There was still
But,
some
in the late
genocidal
80s, with the opening up of the Soviet Union,
phenomena that was like
with,
sort of covered up.
with the breakdown of the Soviet Union, we begin to see, ethnic conflict coming to the fore, especially within the context of more limited resources and so on and so forth. And in one of the things that happens in the late 1980s, in 1988, the parliament of this autonomous region, Nagorno-Karabakh, expresses its desire to have itself transferred from the jurisdiction of Azerbaijan to being the jurisdiction under the jurisdiction of Armenia. Now, this is not unheard of. There is an Azerbaijani enclave called Nakhchivan, which is separated by Armenia from Azerbaijan, but is part of the Azerbaijan, had been part of the Azerbaijan SSR, right? So the Armenians were like, well, instead of this ASSR being part of Azerbaijan, why don't they, because they're Armenian, they should be part of Armenia. And of course, the Azeris weren't happy about this, and tension, grew throughout the late 80s. And this erupted in 1992 into a full-scale war. As once Azerbaijan and Armenia declare independence, you have this life and death struggle for this territorial entity, which declares itself independent. It declares itself its own independent Armenian state. And Armenia and Azerbaijan go to war between 1992 and 1994. It's a bloody conflict. And basically, it sees about 1 million people are displaced. Probably 3/4 are Azeris, and about 1/4 of those displaced are Armenians. But the result is the Armenians are victorious. They managed to create a land bridge conquering the Lachin corridor and connecting Karabakh to Nagorno-Karabakh to Armenia. So we basically have this kind of status quo, which the Russians kind of intervene in and say, okay, guys, calm down. Russia has a military base in Armenia. And so there is kind of like, it's put on ice, but the issue is never really solved. We have periodic clashes, 2008, 2010, 2012, 2014. There are these periodic border clashes. Azerbaijan is kind of like saying, look, 9% of our territory is occupied by Armenia. Armenia is like, this is an ethnically Armenian place. And you have this like rumbling, low intensity conflict that flares up from time to time.
And like, this is if we think under like the concept of the nation state and the sort of ethnic makeup of the region, like these conflicts will always, particularly if there are two, independent capitalist nation states attempting to pursue their own interests, these sort of conflicts will never really meaningfully go away. If you look at like the sort of ethnic makeup of the region.
Now, while this is happening, of course,
There's always going to be some complicated, interdispersed, like ethnic communities
economic transformation taking place.
that won't fit perfectly into borders.
Azerbaijan has, at the turn of the 19th century, nearly half the world's oil was produced in Azerbaijan.
YouTube autopause.
So it's a very oil-rich
cool.
country. And, over the last couple of decades since the fall of the Soviet Union, Azerbaijan has been under the control of the Aliyev family, Haydar Aliyev, and then his son Ilham Aliyev. And actually, Ilham Aliyev's wife...
Almost as if it's on purpose. Yes, I mean, like the Marxist analysis, and others have made this analysis, like the purpose of the nation state is to, like... There's a good comic about this that explains this much simpler than how I would try.
He's the vice president.
But to say, like, it's much easier to have, like, a horizontal account of politics. Like, we're workers, and that's my real material interest, is as a worker fighting my boss, as opposed to, like, the rich people draw a stick around a certain territory and they say, this is our stuff. And the enemy over there is trying to take it. And then you're like, oh, well, we're going to fight them.
So you have this kind
the
of
national
identity with connections
like
to Rudy Giuliani, who's done some lobbying. There's all kind of weird connections with it. So Azerbaijan is getting rich off this oil. Armenia is relatively poor. So you're having a changing economic balance of power in the region. And but the conflict is, never really solved. Armenia remains in place. Now, in 2018, following, you have a revolution in Azerbaijan, a new administration comes to power, and there's actually some good signs about the peace process there. They install a hotline so that they can avoid border clashes. There are these kind of de-escalation measures that are implemented.
What do you guys think? 2 days after, I'll make a poll. I'll make another poll, because we did this before, and you have to pick one of the two options. We live in who won the debate 2 days ago? Biden, Trump, and you can do extra votes with bits because we live in a dictatorship of the bourgeoisie
implemented,
and so you have more options.
Armenian administration, it seems like there's some movement towards de-escalation, but what we've seen in the last couple of days, just
define win. You define win.
We've seen a sudden outbreak of violence. So what it looks like is that the Azeris are now striking the Armenians. There are some theorizations. The Aliyev regime, this family regime, has been criticized for, making a big song and dance of 10% of that country being occupied, but not doing anything. So they've been getting nationalist criticism. So, some people are theorizing perhaps, these attacks to shore up domestic support. But of course, this has led to Armenian mobilization and then Azeri counter-mobilization, and we're seeing growing clashes.
You won't look like a bitch.
And what
like either side does not want to look like a bitch, right?
Becoming particularly dangerous as well is that it's drawing in foreign actors.
And I say bitch very specifically.
So,
there's like
foreign
a
actors have always been involved in this conflict. Russia has been involved, Iran has been involved, the United States has been kind of involved as well, and Turkey has been involved. Turkey has sided with the Azeris. They shut the border in the early 90s to Armenia, which ironically, the Islamic Republic, rather than supporting their fellow Shia Muslims in Azerbaijan, has had a policy that has tilted slightly towards the Armenians for a number of reasons, including the fact that Azeri nationalists lay claim to parts of Iran's territory, which is a sort of a whole separate issue. But,
wait, I'm an idiot. I was saying the Azeris were predominantly Sunni.
Have this situation where Turkey, which has been increasingly over the last 5 years pursuing an extremely aggressive foreign policy without any check on it, is now looks
that
like
Erdogan
it's
guy,
on the side
bad news
of Azerbaijan, sending Syrian mercenaries, which they've deployed already, not only in Syria but in Libya as well. sending drones. One of the big stories of the last 10
Oh
years.
yeah, Trump will never lose his base
drone
with the
industry
debates.
in Turkey has
But
become
Biden won't either.
modernized.
I don't think.
You know, when I used to
It's
live
all
in
about
Turkey,
undecideds. That's the only thing the debate has an effect on.
The Turks were relying on Israeli drones, the Heron drones.
Most people have
And
made up
actually
their minds
the
at
Turks
this point.
bought the drones, but not the cameras, and they had these crappy cameras that they stuck to the
Or they've
Israeli
made up their
drones,
mind
so
not
the
to make
ca-
up
so
their
the
mind.
drone wouldn't take off properly. But now the Turks have got their own defense industry, so it looks like the Turks are supplying the Azeris with drones. They're supplying. There's accusations that there's Turkish fighter planes involved. So it very much.
It is weird that
looks
people could
like
be in. I mean,
we're in
people
a
just are
situation
fucking tapped
where,
out,
you
right?
know, like conflict is escalating, and who knows where it's going to lead? Because Russia doesn't want to see this conflict escalate, but sometimes things get out of hand. So I'll stop there since I'm talking nonstop.
Okay, that's interesting.
No, that's really perfect. And I mean, what do you think the Iranian response is looking like at the moment to the action there as well?
Debates are pure
the
spectacle, mean
Iranians
nothing. Well, politics in America is pure spectacle.
seem to be calling,
So like,
for
it means nothing. There's some like signifiers that American politics are, and that's sort of it. But for some people, that means a
both
lot.
sides to de-escalate. It's like the Iranians have economic connections with Armenia. Their
Or
cooperation
have the
with Armenia
capacity
is
to mean
largely in
things,
economic
and
sphere.
those
It's not in
things
the,
translate to like votes, right?
It's not in the sphere of military. So I don't think the Iranians want to
With
see
COVID,
a conflict
people's spirits are
breaking out-
broken. That's
breaking
probably
out on their
true.
northern border. I don't think that's. I think they and the Russians are probably going to try and push for de-escalation. Joe Biden has released some statements calling for de-escalation and calling for Turkey to stay out of the conflict as well. And Russia too is calling for talks. Saying things like, let's not argue over whose fault it is right now. Let's just de-escalate
That's
the
interesting.
situation. But it has
Oh,
caught people by surprise. It
right.
seems to have caught a lot of diplomats by surprise.
Okay, that was interesting. Just wanted something about that, because that's important. What do we? Oh, this is an awesome video. I love this.
לכל אחד יש רגע שהוא פשוט חייב ביג אמריקה.
Here you go, Mr. President.
God bless Israel for the big America.
מקדונלדס מציגה סדרת ביג אמריקה, המבורגרי בנטריקות.
Just like an Israeli burger ad. It's very funny. The Israeli burger ads are fucking crazy. They are wild. Where's the Kim Jong-un one? It's crazy. It's really on one. Where is it? I don't know. I can't find it. Is this it? Oh yeah, this is funny. There's an Irish court. I thought it was Swedish. Subway has so much sugar in their bread. I just had Subway yesterday. Has so much sugar in their bread that Ireland is legally not allowing it to be considered bread. Which sounds weird, but then you eat Subway with that knowledge, and you're like, yes, there's sugar in this bread. There's absolutely sugar. Okay, what else? This is interesting. I mean, Nate Silver is, but this is like crazy. It's crazy how much. Don't eat Subway. I'll eat Subway if I want to, damn it. It's good. It's tasty. It's cheap. It's very bad for you. Oh, this is awesome. Is Australia America's two best options? It's a good point. Your country quite literally rigs elections. Oh, yeah, of course. Thank you, Charlotte. I mean, it's funny because it's like in her world, she's like, yeah, no, I just. So is it a cookie? It's cake, right? Subway is cake. Everything is cake, folks. Oh my God. It's so funny considering that there is objective proof that America rigged the, 94 Russian election, dragged Boris Yeltsin's corpse across the finish line, basically. Literally gave a shit ton of money, or like and 96, thank you, shit ton of fucking resources to make sure that Yeltsin won. And they were bragging about it, right? Look at the Yelts, New York Times, 1996. Yanks to the rescue. It was a New York Times. I got that wrong. It's the Times. It's different. Yanks to the rescue. The secret story of how American advisors helped Yeltsin win. They literally fucking rigged the election. They bragged about it. So real fucking rich. Real fucking rich. Yeah, she doesn't know Papela. Oh, Marx's favorite Twitter account. Oh, God. That was the worst shit I've ever seen in my life. I mean, she's sort of trolling, but it's very embarrassing. The new generation of like left, like the most recent brand of like left accounts on Twitter that are like important and have just like very recently gotten important. So like the worst left Twitter is getting bad so quickly. Sorry, but Marx was drunk. Who absolutely and you think my Twitter account fucking slaps? It fucking slaps, dude. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Marx would have loved my meme about how centrists look at the right and then look at the left and they say that these are the same thing. He would have thought that was super funny. Marx's main identity was that he was like a slob. Marx's identity had nothing to do with like him being correct about politics. And also mean to people. He was very mean. Where'd all my tweets go? I don't really tweet anymore. He's a very mean person, which is cool. I like it. He was mean to, but no, he would have absolutely made fun of you. Anyone who thinks this goes for literally anyone who thinks that Marx would have liked them. The type of person that says that Marx would have been mean to you. Very specifically, he would have made fun of you. Same goes to that person that was like, actually, Marx would have agreed with me that they, them pronouns are stupid. No, Marx would have made fun of you. He would have called you a fucking idiot.
All right.
Anyways. So yeah, that was rough. Marx would have been a Twitch streamer, actually. If he was alive today, he would have raided me. And I would have been like, thank you for the raid, Marx. You're my friend of the stream, Marx. Everyone follow my friend, Karl Marx. He's a Twitch streamer. That's what would have happened. All of you are wrong. What's this? Oh, this is a classic video of Zizek. Just fucking... Just really getting... Yeah, he's a slob. It's awesome. He rocks. I mean, yes, being a slob is cool.
One more...
Why does this keep... Oh, it's fucking... Oh, okay. Wait, I don't know why it's doing this. What else should we watch? This is... I'm starting to think that Biden is just gonna win, though. I mean, fucking... Nate was wrong 4 years ago, but Nate was the most right. Have you watched new Gravel Institute fights? I haven't. I wonder how effective something like that's gonna be. I think think tanks aren't inherently bad, but I think one of the main reasons think tanks work is because they sort of push a policy position that has some sort of like ingrained actual authority and strength in a country, in a political discourse. And I think the problem in general is that what the Gravel Institute wants to push has no policy influence in politics. But it's not bad. Worst case scenario, it does nothing. But we can watch some Gravel videos. Some Gravel Institute. Mike Gravel is not a good guy, by the way. Just to put that out. He was like friends with Lyndon LaRouche and shit.
Hi, this is H. Sean Benjamin. I'm here to talk to you about a big problem on the internet. It's called...
Is that the guy who plays Bob's Burger?
No, it's called PragerU.
Is that Bob?
Imagine a huge stream of lies that pours
Lyndon
into
LaRouche
every
is a
computer
Holocaust
in America.
denier.
Imagine it's disguised to look unbiased and packaged into slick videos. And imagine oil billionaires...
But I mean, that's not...
of millions each
that's
year
not connected to the
indoctrinate
institute.
Your friends,
obviously.
your family. Well, that's
also, Gravel is a massive coomer for Tulsi.
PragerU. And
loves
the thing
Tulsi.
is, it works. 1 out of every 3 Americans
Yeah, no,
online
this is
has
ran
seen
by the
one of their
Gravel kids.
videos, and 70% say that Prager's videos
Who
changed their
aren't.
minds.
Which I respect, the taking Gravel's brand and using it the way you want to use it. People say that's lame, but I think it's
This
cool.
stuff makes a difference, and every day it is pulling people toward the right. At the Gravel Institute, we're building something to beat them at their own game.
Gravel did not
Short,
publish Watergate.
High quality, easy to understand videos presenting leftist ideas and refuting right-wing lies. Stuff you can send to your friends.
Yeah,
your
I'm
mothers,
skeptical about how
your
effective this will
secret
be.
lovers, Your mother's lovers. Your known
Are Lance and
lovers.
Chelsea doing vids?
And
Okay,
we've got
that's
big
cool.
name presenters from Bernie Sanders to Chelsea Manning. Here are a few that we've lined up.
Okay.
Okay, so this won't be easy, and we're going against a Goliath, so we definitely need your help. We want this to be a collaborative organization guided by
If
its
Chelsea's doing
members,
it, I have
where
to support
we're
it.
trying to do something big. So hey, let's do this.
I think I talked to them at some point. Because I know the teens. But yeah, sure. I mean, a worst case scenario, it does nothing. Let's look at... Worth a shot, sure.
There's one thing Americans can agree on. We value democracy. And in a democracy, leaders are elected by the people to represent the people's interests. One person, one vote. So why does everyone agree that the government doesn't really work for us? Conservatives have an easy answer. Big
Well, yeah, this is
government
going to be
is the
status
problem.
cringe. It's going to be sock dem shit,
They
obviously.
say the
for the
government
most part.
infringes on people's freedoms and is
That's
constantly
not a
getting bigger.
surprise.
They say that if we just defund expensive government programs, we could lower
It's
taxes
going to have like
for
Bernie
the average
politics
American.
for the most part.
With that money back in the hands of ordinary
makes
people,
sense.
they say, people could handle their problems
You know
on
the
their own.
agitprop we get? I guess.
But there's a big problem with that. It's just not true. Sure, the US government is big, but not as big as it used to be. As a percentage of the economy, federal spending is smaller now than it was in 1954. And the US spends less on government than other countries, like Germany or Finland, that have lower rates of poverty and higher rates of economic mobility.
Yeah, this is all policy
The
stuff,
American
right?
dream is more alive in these big government countries than in America. And there's no truth to the claim that the bigger the government,
It's a weird way to
the less
define
free
that.
the people.
Yeah,
In
it's
fact,
like sock dem
the
politics.
countries at the Cato Institute, a libertarian think
Yeah,
tank, ranks as
H5.
freer than the United States.
The freedom
Countries
index
like
is obviously
Sweden
dumb.
or Denmark have much larger governments relative to their
Creates
populations
a pipeline that's
than the
straight
United
to me.
States.
Yeah, sure.
A large government doesn't mean an unfree population. You see, government isn't a problem in and of itself. In a country as sprawling
Yes, what's
and
Hong Kong
diverse
at
as
number 3?
America, there needs to be an institution to build infrastructure and inspect food and to put out fires, to do things
Anyone
that
left his
help our
politics is packed
communities,
into some weird
even
shape of
if they don't
patriotism.
turn
Well, it's a think tank, right? So it's going to do that.
profit. Think of the U.S. Postal Service, which
Haven't been here in
provides
a month, but
hundreds
the
of
mood is
thousands of
good
good
vibes.
jobs while allowing people to cheaply mail packages across the country. Or think of Medicare and Medicaid, which are credited with having saved millions of lives. So the problem isn't the size of government, it's who controls the government. The reason it feels like our politicians don't work for us is because, well, they don't. Republicans and Democrats alike are working for the people who line their wallets instead. That's not just my politics. That's the academic consensus. In 2014, a Princeton University study found that economic elites and organized groups representing business interests have substantial independent impacts on U.S. government policy. More than that, they found that the desires of regular people have zero impact on policy adoption.
Yeah.
Not a little impact, not barely any impact, no relationship at all. And it's a truth that has been understood since the founding of the United States. Thomas Jefferson wrote of his desire to crush in its birth the aristocracy of our moneyed corporations. But blinded by swanky dinner parties and big donations, some politicians have forgotten his words.
Yeah, it's like a
The top
rhetorical
ranks
position.
of both parties today are filled with billionaires, banking executives, and wealthy lobbyists. Corporations regularly give money to politicians on
Yeah, okay.
both sides of the aisle,
like
guaranteeing
Sock
their
them, not
influence
done
no
sock,
matter
yeah.
who wins an election.
Yeah, Jefferson was.
Whoever wins,
I mean, obviously
you
Jefferson was not a
lose.
sock them.
With a government under the control of corporations and the rich, the system has been rigged completely in their favor.
Washington
In the
was kind of a
1950s,
aristocrat. Yeah.
when the economy was growing
they did
faster than
not.
ever, the richest people in the country paid an income tax of 91%.
I think this works.
The corporate income tax was above 50%. But after decades of tax cuts for the rich, the 400 richest Americans pay a lower tax rate than the bottom 10%.
Was this before
elites, and
750?
the politicians
It
they
probably
control
was made
will
before that.
justify this inequality by saying that different rules for them mean more wealth for all. But recent history shows that's not the case. While American workers have become dramatically more productive, their wages have stagnated
Yeah,
or
this is
fallen.
fine.
The average hourly wage was higher in 1974 than it was in 2018. This has led to a stark gap in qualities of life. From 1989 to 2018, the wealthiest
than nothing, I
1%
guess.
of Americans increased their total net worth by $21 trillion. The bottom 50%, meanwhile, saw their net worth decrease.
It's good
by
aesthetics. The
900
drawings are
billion.
nice.
The rich got richer, the poor got poorer. For too long, we have been presented with a false choice: big government versus small government. We're right to be skeptical of the people who lead us. They don't work for you or for me, but it's not because government is big. It's because it's bought. I'm Brianna Gray, contributing editor at Current Affairs Magazine for the Gravel Institute.
Yeah. Okay, that seems fine.
Thank you for watching this.
That's a good introduction video for like their politics. Yeah, okay. Which is to say that it's like kind of social democratic reforms. And like using like American nationalism, or like appealing to it at least, to develop those reforms, at least from a rhetorical perspective. Yeah, I guess that's not a surprise. Watch the very end.
Video. If you believe in our mission, please consider becoming a patron of the Institute or making
Left
a
TikTok is
one-time
unironically
contribution.
15,000 times better than they're both awful. Both of those things are awful. I'm a bit on left TikTok. I know what's going on there, and it's terrible. It's all the left Twitter takes and people who are as like, you know, dumb as left Twitter, but they're also 16 because it's TikTok. So there are like the videos by like, there's like the ML videos about like, you know, why actually North Korea is based, question mark. And then there's the like video by 16-year-old, like, you know, we're trying to think of like the Sogdam example that wouldn't piss people off. You know, the 16-year-old Sogdam thing about why we should invade China. And then there are like, you know, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's yeah, and there's a lot of market socialists on TikTok. There's a lot of, watch the end of the other video. Which other video? Not as big government is the other one. Didn't we watch this? We watched all of this. There's a Patreon. My overlay is improved. That's good. I'm glad. I'm glad this is an improvement on whatever the hell we were using before. Any more cringe TikTok on? Is there more cringe on TikTok or left Twitter? Probably left Twitter, actually. It's easier to boost cringe on Twitter is the problem. Yes, and a shit ton of left TikTokers are post-leftists. Yeah, and it's like you might as well just be a conservative. If we can't escape capital, then just go have lunch. Don't post. You're wasting your time. Ho megalolst leftist. Yeah, the post leftist position is a lot less intuitive than people might think it is. I've been reading a bit of Baudrillard, and his position is basically that the subject is dead. There is no the world of the subject is over. It's been subsumed by the object, and we should embrace the object. And it's like, it's interesting, but if you think about it in a the sense of like, I am a human being that can affect the world and make meaningful political change, outside of capitalism, that there is thought outside of capital, it starts to become very non-intuitive, in an almost similar way that, like, this is a poor analogy philosophically speaking, but in a very similar way that, like, what's it called, that, like, philosophical skepticism in its most radical sense is like incredibly not intuitive, and has a very hard time actually relating to people's experiences in the world and how they affect the world. I think post-left shit is generally a product of, like, people who look at politics and see that it's bad, and then saying, like, and being in a relatively privileged position that, like, they can tolerate the status quo even if it's awful, and saying, like, well, what are we gonna do? And I would say that for a lot of people, I think particularly people in the global south, that's not a possibility. It's like black pessimism. You mean Afro pessimism? Sort of. Not quite, though. I think there's a lot more to Afro pessimism. I don't know if I would compare Afro pessimism to post left shit. It's in a sort of similar context. But I mean, actually, that's maybe a good example of how, like, a lot of the nihilism that comes out in a lot of post leftist shit, it doesn't exist in a lot of Afro pessimism. Because it's easier in a more privileged position to look at things that are bad and then say that there's no hope.
Call.
Anyways. Oh yeah, this video. You should nominate, if anyone lives in Sweden, you should spend $50 or however much it takes and nominate me for a Nobel Peace Prize. Nominate Liv Posting. I want to be Liv Posting nominated for Nobel Peace Prize for posting, for telling people to knock it off with being mean to each other. Please do that. We can watch some of this. This is long, but it's about the debate, and that's in the title of my video. It's not Sweden. Is it Norway that you can do that?
We will have a test track and trace operation that will be.
In last night's presidential debate, the
I'll
task for
contact
both
me,
candidates was clear. The incumbent needed.
Oh, is this a left talk? You're linking me, Anvilize?
Libertarians I know don't really understand why Hobbesians support a monarchy rather than democracy. So, I guess
Why
I'm going to explain
Hobbesians?
that. First of all, they view an anarcho-capitalist society as ideal, but if given the choice between democracy and monarchy, they
Is this a Hobbesian?
choose monarchy. In a democratic system, the government falls victim to the tragedy of the common. Politicians have a high time preference, which basically means that they value immediate gratification.
No, this is a guy that just took a 100-level politics course.
Because they have to please their constituents in a span of a term
he's reading notes
in order to get re-elected. Democracy is short-sighted and favors short-term gains over long-term losses. Monarchy, on the other hand, is the opposite. Monarchs generally have a lower time preference because their reign lasts a lifetime.
This is a meme.
They pass their kingdom on to their heirs.
He's clearly
and they have
reading.
total ownership of the kingdom. In the libertarian view, private property is greater maintained than the commons. Thus, monarchs have a greater incentive to maintain their society. While monarchy has
that is the
advantages over
Hobbesian
democracy, they're
position.
both unacceptable.
That's actually not the Hobbesian position, by the way. Hobbes was not dealing with liberal democracy. Hobbes was dealing with the insane and dysfunctional system of power in medieval Europe that was very anti-rational and didn't have any meaningful like systems of the transfer of power that were formalized there are a bunch of different rules and understandings of how power worked that were antithetical and didn't work with each other. And it was just this like fucking shit show. And Hobbes was basically like, we need a strong kind of ordered succession of power. So because he like grew up during the English Civil War, English Civil War, which was like a direct result of that. So anyone who's trying to like take that lesson and be like, and think that they can speak about how the state works in relation to like the economy and politics in the 21st century context is like, just, you need to read thinkers in their historical context, or they're useless, or they tell you nothing about the world. The ideal of the king was that they knew they were doing. Because also, importantly, Hobbes's philosophical justifications. You gonna watch Leslie's Kirsch blog? Probably. All the philosophical justifications for Hobbes are firmly within the Bible, by the way. Same with Locke, actually, but less of an extent.
In comparison to the natural order.
But yeah, I don't. Whatever the fuck he was saying is a meme. It's a meme. It's a meme.
To distract from the fact
anyways.
his incompetence had cost tens of thousands of American lives, and the challenger needed to prove he wasn't in the early stages of dementia. In the end, the night was
Hebrew
dominated.
Republic is a good book about that. Oh, about how much Hobbes loved the like Old Testament style Israeli kingdom. Okay, that's interesting. Biblical sources of early modern republicanism. That's
by
really
a barrage
interesting.
of interruptions from Trump and an endorsement of white supremacy. On tonight's show, we'll discuss who came out on top and whether the grim spectacle was just the latest.
I'm assuming that's like from the link from Hobbes to Locke, because Hobbes is not a Republican,
symptom
right?
of an empire in decline.
I guess it's sort of an
To assess the first
articulation
presidential
of
debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. I'm delighted
like
to be joined by Eric
proto-Republican
Levitz
ideals
of New York Magazine.
Oh, that's not
Eric is one of my
right?
favorite analysts of US politics, so definitely give him a follow on Twitter. Eric, thank you for joining us this evening.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What's your Twitter handle?
It's just my name, Eric Levitz, with the @ in front of it.
Oh, I guess
I'm also joined
I guess
by
Hobbes is an early Republican.
Ash Sarkar, my phenomenally talented
Thomas Hobbes
colleague,
cancelled for being GOP Russian shill.
Free in the minds of tens of thousands of lonely Twitter trolls with Union Jack emojis in their handles. Ash, welcome to the show this evening. Ooh, I can't hear Ash. I wonder if our audience can, or if that's a problem for me. It's fine. Everyone else apparently can. I can hear you now. Can I hear you now, Ash?
I don't know.
I can now.
You might not like what
Fabulous.
I have to say.
No, I can
Show
hear
me.
you now.
Everyone
If I
send me your
blanked
best
something that you said that was
cringe,
significant before, don't take
political
offense,
TikToks.
please. Me and Ash will be letting Eric go for the final part.
Oh, and here's a classic. This is not left TikTok, but it sure is a TikTok. This is a thing that people are saying, by the way. Many people are saying this, folks. Just a reminder that 1933 Hitler appointed Goering Minister of the Interior. His first order was to defund and eliminate the police. Let's go. The Gestapo, listen, they're not technically police. That's such an awesome lie. I think it started with QAnon people. I think this started with Q people. I've seen this before. This sentiment. It's absurd, obviously. Goering like centralized the police apparatus and put militarized it as well. What I would wear if we went on a date according to your politics. Oh no. No, I hate these. I fucking hate these so much. These suck, dude. Oh, he's just a Nazi. This dude's just a Nazi then. I mean, that's another thing about TikTok is there really are just more like younger mask off fascists. They really don't give a fuck, dude. They really do not give, they're open about that shit.
of the show when we'll cover the grotesque plan.
He's standing by
Britain's Home Secretary.
Oh yeah, they fucking the Proud Boys loved that shit that Trump told them to stand by.
Asylum seekers to the South Atlantic. As ever, share the show link so we get more people watching live, and let us know what you thought about the presidential debate on the hashtag TiskiSour. We'll read out some of those.
Yeah, well, I can't turn it off. All right.
The show. We're going to show you a bunch of clips from this debate. It was a difficult watch, to be honest. I watched the whole hour and a half. I had to pause quite a lot because it was a painful watch. But we're going to show you the best bits, which means by the end of this show you'll understand exactly what went wrong. And the main talking point from the debate was just how chaotic it all was, mainly because of the
What's wrong with left Twitter? I mean, it's just people are annoying on left Twitter. It's very self-referential
from Don
and like insular in a strange way that it has a hard time like affecting
Trump,
people
which were
outside of
constant, unstinting, and the moderator really struggled to get him under control. The first clip we're going to show you is sort of a compilation of the tone of the debate, the amount that
Donald aware Trump is of his griper base. Totally aware. Absolutely aware.
Trump was interrupting.
Not like Twitch, but I mean, yes,
Pocahontas would have left 2 days early. You would have lost every primary.
All he knows how to do is
Super Tuesday. You got very lucky.
Here's the deal. I got very lucky. I'm going to get very lucky tonight as well. And tonight I'm going to make sure.
I'm going to get very lucky tonight. Listen, Mac, Jill, my wife, she was telling me this debate goes well.
Here's the deal.
Maybe I can sniff her hair.
Here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But
I just want to make
sure. Oh, is this are these the guys who are blaming the communists for Hitler taking power? Call the Social Democrats social fascists and regard them as the main enemy in the face of Hitler's rise. That's the KPD didn't want to. If only fucking Thalman, who had like, I guess relatively minimal power compared to the Soc Dems. Just like, I guess, allied with the Soc Dems, then fucking Hindenburg wouldn't have appointed Hitler the Chancellor of Germany, and the Reichstag decree, and the Nazis never would have attacked the Reichstag and blamed it specifically on communists. Then that wouldn't have happened, I guess. I guess it's very specifically Thalman's fault, I guess. This is also exactly the same as the 21st century. The cool thing about political analogies is that literally all of them are correct. Every part of the world is always like another part of the world, and they're directly comparable. So you can learn everything about politics from Weimar Germany. And specifically, I want you not to look at the failures of liberal democracy that led to authoritarianism and fascism having a space in political discourse to grow and survive. Let's not learn anything about that. Let's only give a shit about fucking Ernst Thälmann, who is like a Stalinist, right? I don't know how much I would. Yeah, how much the modern left is at all comparable to Thälmann. Also, the Democrats aren't even Soc Dems, so we have less in common with them now than Thälmann did with the Social Democrats now here. But again, just fundamentally, the main reason why the Nazis took power was because the center was complacent with them existing in politics. So if this is your lesson, and you think that this is going to shame leftists into voting for your shitty candidate, you're wrong. There's this really weird account of politics that some libs like to develop, in which like the left never really gets power. The left always exists as the very specific bulwark against the right that needs to support the center into fighting the right. When the libs attack the left, it doesn't matter. Who gives a shit? That doesn't happen. Let's not look at it. Let's only look at when the left attacks the libs. And the reason they do that is because actually they secretly agree with and are fine with aiding and abetting the people they agree with the least, which is the right. Let's not look at all of the like valid reasons the left would have to not trust the libs. Let's simply blame the lack of a united front and no concession to the left on the left. It's their fault. The lesson of the 21st century and of the 2020 election isn't that the Democrats are fucking stupid, that they refuse to concede to the left at all to get any of their votes or support, that they're an incompetent party that isn't really opposing fascism particularly effectively. The lesson is that the left are greedy and stupid, and if they would simply just go along and not do infighting, which when a socialist doesn't like Joe Biden, it's called infighting. Those are the same side. Very similar political interests. It's because of that infighting, which is specifically the left's fault. Specifically some random fucking idiot on Twitter, that, some random left person that said that Trump isn't as bad as Biden or whatever. That's the reason why Biden is going to lose. I agree with all of these. This is great. I didn't create this, but I understand there may be some historical inaccuracies in it. My hope was to illustrate the need for unity against a common and greater evil. Thanks. Why can't it, for the first time, why can't it be that the unity is under the far left? Why can't it be the libs fucking throwing support to the far left? Why has that never fucking happened? Why is it always the reversed? And why is that always the fucking case? I wonder why. I just wonder why.
Joe, you're the
I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
I want to make sure.
Mr. President, can you let him finish, sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that. He has.
You'd be surprised.
You pick.
You'd be surprised.
Someone clip that 2-minute rant when Biden loses in 2 months and blame the reason he lost on me, please.
The wrong guy, the wrong night at the wrong time.
Listen, you agreed with
Here's the
Bernie
deal.
Sanders to the
The
manifesto.
whole idea.
Let him.
There is no manifesto. Number
Please
one.
let him speak, Mr.
Number
President.
two.
You just lost the left.
Number two.
That was really funny, actually. When he would ask Biden to support like the Green New Deal, and Biden was like, no, and he's like, he just lost the left.
Just lost the left.
Just lost the left.
Agreed with Bernie Sanders on a plan.
Folks,
absolutely agreed
folks, do you have
to,
any
and under that
idea
plan,
what
you have
this clown's
socialized,
doing?
They call it
Mr.
Do you have any do?
socialized medicine.
Mr. President.
Let people know
He doesn't want
you're a
to answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the
Show me
question
your back.
A lot
is
of
the
new
question
Supreme Court
is
justice,
the
radical
question.
left.
I will be
Will
right
you
back.
shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
This
Who's
is
on your
so
list?
right,
Gentlemen, I think
This
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the
unprecedented.
court.
His family's
My
already.
family,
No, let him go.
my family
already
lost
wrote.
a fortune by coming down and helping
Go
us
ahead.
with
Go ahead,
government.
sir.
And that's such a.
They're right
That's
here.
it, Mr.
That's such
President.
a
Every
great.
single one of them lost
This
a
is not
fortune
about
by
my
coming and
family or
helping
his
us with
family. It's
government.
about your family,
They
the
didn't
American
collect
people.
$3.5 million
He
for
doesn't.
nothing.
That's not true. It doesn't want to talk about what you need. You, the American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about
you
here.
should
All right,
Not
that's the end of the
Shouldn't have
segment.
taken the money.
We're moving on.
He didn't take them.
Well,
Vice
it's a very-
President,
but Chris,
no,
can I be honest? It's a very important
Try to be
question.
honest.
No,
He stood up.
No,
He stood up,
the answer to
and
the
he
question is no.
threatened Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion, if you don't
That
get rid of
is
the Russians.
absolutely
You know what, you're
not
stop.
true.
Tape doing it.
You're going to
Not
have
tape.
True.
Gentlemen.
I mean, I'd been looking forward to this debate for ages, actually, just because I thought this is going to be, chaos. But to be honest, I thought it was going to make a little bit more sense than it did. The constant interruptions, as well as being, very distracting on a political level, they got kind of boring. There was just so many of them. Eric, I want to go to you first because, on the left, people often sort of challenge liberal narratives about Trump by sort of highlighting the continuity between his presidency and people who went before him. So he's not completely, sui generis. But this style of debating is something that's quite different, right?
Yeah, no, he's a completely a different animal in terms of his rhetorical and oratorical approach. My understanding is that the idea behind his approach last night was that, Joe Biden has a stutter. He's a little bit advanced in years.
It was not a stutter.
I think the idea was to try to force.
I saw that take on left TikTok too. It was like, yeah, look at these Trump people doing an ableism, shaming Joe Biden for his stutter. It's not a stutter. Joe Biden is just senile. That's literally it.
Either losing his.
He has. It's a difficulty processing language and putting it out because he's literally going senile because he's older. You look at videos of him speaking 4 years ago, it's not like that.
Temper and acting out in a way
like
that,
it's like a processing
because he
issue
had less control over his
senility.
rage than Trump would be kind of register as embarrassing,
Like genuinely,
rather than
that's
clearly
just
a
what it
dominance
is.
display, or else to have him just completely lose his train of thought and have a senior moment that would become like the
I love
major
this
clip the
opposite
next
and
day in the
similar.
morning
Yeah,
news.
literally, it's just senility. There's no
I
like
think that is what
exaggeration
the logic
there.
of what Trump was trying to do was, to the extent there was a logic to it. But I don't think it worked very well from what we've seen in terms of Insta polls and just reporting on. They
I'm
were
doing an
sent
ageism, I
reporters
guess.
out to a few like Trump.
Whenever you
watch
guys call me a
parties, debate
boomer,
watch
you're
parties
also
out
doing an
in,
ageism.
rural
Hope
red
you know
America. And he didn't like lose his supporters, but the interviews with these kind of older, culturally conservative supporters, they clearly were uncomfortable with, just the incessance of the interruption. And I mean, it's not a pleasant thing it's off-putting no matter kind of who you are, to see somebody like relentlessly for an hour and a half, just interrupt somebody with bullying taunts.
I mean, from
he
a
does
strategic
have a stutter. He's had it for years. He said he got over it. I mean, it might have came back.
Perspective, it seems
some of that could be a stutter.
Odd to me as well. I can understand
a majority of it is him being senile,
sort of interrupting at key moments.
It's like think of it this way: it's not a capacity to get out thoughts that he's thinking. It's like a not having the capacity to process thoughts. Which is more senility.
But this was actually
it's the jokes about him not knowing where he is.
A huge opportunity for Trump, because obviously
it's like senility.
What's going against him is coronavirus and the economy tanking. The only thing going for him is Biden's sort of
Republicans in Texas are desperately trying to suppress the ability to vote absentee because the Dems are doing well. Of course. I mean, I like Texas is definitely not going blue. It might have had a chance to do so. If they weren't suppressing voting stuff.
For bloopers and the fact that he clearly is, in some sort of cognitive decline, probably not to the extent that the Trump campaign wants you to think, but, he's not the man he was 10 years ago. But it almost felt like Trump was sort of filibustering. It felt like Biden couldn't make any big fuck-ups because he was interrupted so often that he didn't actually have a chance to tie himself in knots, as we've seen him do so often.
I wonder how neoliberal took the debate. I looked at neoliberal. I was curious. They mostly said that Biden didn't do well. They were worried. Our conservatives thought that Trump didn't do well. So they were both worried about each other.
Yeah, and I think there was a countervailing thing where
they liked when Biden was mean, which I also liked. I thought that was cool. From my vague understanding, and if anyone has more shit on this, because it's been a couple days, a lot of undecideds didn't like Biden being mean, being like, will this clown shut up or whatever. It was like, you're stooping to his level.
I saw at least one report before the debate of Trump advisors
but
suggesting...
But nothing really I saw was about how Biden didn't have where it's like, oh, I didn't realize how senile Biden was. Like, everyone sort of has known the extent to which he's not able to do speaking stuff because of his senility. And people don't seem to be that worried about it.
Try to set a different tone, which if you watch Trump's State of the Union addresses or his speech at the Republican National Convention, his people do know generally when a new audience is coming in, when it's not the Fox News faithful, but normies who don't
care
follow
anymore.
Politics much. He often adopts this kind of
a lot of undecideds
really
have moved to not just not voting. That's true.
Sleepy tone and just kind of lists very small bore legislative or executive order achievements that he's had.
It's always a waste of time.
In his first answer about the Supreme Court, he was kind of in this low key, look, I'm not so threatening, I'm not so weird, I'm just a Republican, and I'm going to be good for your 401k kind of mode. And he just fell out of that immediately and spent the rest of the night, not just with the interrupting, but with he's so. I think that actually Trump suffers from a difficulty that we on the left confront, which he's extremely online. And he referenced a bunch of right-wing blog stories, Fox News stories.
I bet Biden can read in complete sentences. I don't know. I mean, if all of Biden's speaking issues was just a stutter that resurfaced, then that would be the case. But if it's senility, then no. I don't know.
Shorthand that you would use.
I don't think that's
talking
true.
With other Fox News obsessives. This happened with Hunter Biden. It happened with this weird moment where
people don't give a shit about Hunter.
Biden said that Trump needs to get smart in the next few weeks, or else we're going to lose a lot more lives. And Trump said, "Don't talk to me about smart. What you attended
Yeah,
Delaware
that was
State.
stupid.
No
one cares about that.
Low in your class." Which the Delaware State thing, I guess, was a reference to Biden ostensibly
the state
misspeaking and saying Delaware State instead of the University of Delaware, so suggesting that he went to a historically black university in the United States. I think it's actually a manipulated video, and he didn't really say that. But this was a story on Fox News 4 days ago. But Trump didn't explicate this for the regular audience.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
No
Americans,
idea. It was just completely
confusing
confusing and baffling what was going on. I mean, because it was baffling for what was going on for me a bunch of the time, but I thought maybe like in an American context, swing voters would know, but you're kind of suggesting they don't. It was just as baffling to the majority of the American public.
Probably.
Yeah, no, I mean...
Literally no one pointed that out in my chat,
Trump's
right?
like,
I mean, that's not it's maybe not the best, key demographic that they're worried about.
Base that spends every day watching, the same programming that he does, maybe understood what he was
I don't
doing.
think undecided voter really exists. I just think they're people who want to get on polling show. I don't know. I don't think that's true.
But the bulk of the audience, and including people like myself, professional political journalists, who aren't, on the far right, really didn't understand a lot of what he was saying.
I'm going to go to Ash in one moment. First of all, I want to show another...
Okay, I want to watch the Kush video. Let's watch the Kush vlog. This is from yesterday? Or, yeah, yesterday. Kush vlog time. Is this Matt Iglesias? Yeah, POV, someone is about to explain to you why you need to breed for the motherland to get to 100, to get to 1 billion people.
Hi guys, sorry, I'm just trying to make sure that I properly credit someone for the inspiration for the episode title today.
The flesh screams for those who hear it. What's that in reference to?
I did a tweet last night or this morning I think actually, about the debate and how the only message that either that was being sent there was the bodies of the two people on stage, and that the message was "we're dying." And someone replied with, "The flesh screams for those who hear it," and that stuck in my head.
Oh, that rocks.
And I want to give a shout out to AppNubs for replying to me with that, because it's now the only thing I can think of when I think of that night, which I'm going to be thinking about a lot, because for me, let me finish this for a second. For me, it delivered on everything I was hoping it would be. 1 second. So, I know everyone, and I know I was saying beforehand, there's no way this thing's going to live up to what we want it to be, or what I imagine.
It absolutely did.
It to be. And
people were going to say it was
going
to be boring.
Because what are we waiting for? We're waiting for some sort of fracture moment.
No, this is pretty much what I expected.
We'll always normalize it, which is why, as the thing was happening, as these two demented fossils had exactly what everybody said would happen if they ever debated, a confused, random
just a mess.
Ejaculation of
just no political
stutters and ums,
discussion,
and,
no policy,
placeholders, and circular wording around nothing, because their heads are empty, because they're not there. They're at the point in most people's lives where the doctors, they just give you prescriptions for anything because, hey, let them have fun with it. Who cares? It doesn't matter if they get addicted or whatever. They're not going to run out into traffic. They're at that stage. They're at the let's have fun stage of drug use for elderly people, and they're supposed to be in charge, arguing about the presidency. And it took me a while, obviously, to realize it, and it didn't come fully to me until after I'd finished watching it. But for me, anyway, this debate was that apocalyptic moment. Not just in the sense that it has given me now a memory, and a memory that I can even revisit by even watching 1 minute, 1 second of the footage that will snap me out of the mental shackles of trying to invest the actions and especially the words of either of these two people and trying to ascribe meaning to them and trying to figure out what the future of this country and this planet and myself and the people I love is based on what they say. There is nothing there. They do not know anything. They don't know where they are. And the reality of that is too terrifying to admit. So even people who were horrified by the whole thing, how many of them in the aftermath of what we all saw decide to start arguing about whether or not Donald Trump was issuing a coded message to the Proud Boys to intimidate people at election sites?
Or an even more ridiculous iteration of a discussion is, did Joe Biden say inshallah? Or did he say something else and he like slurred his words?
To which I say, did you just watch the debate? If you watched that,
I don't think he said inshallah. I don't believe it. It was like, you know, when it's the law, in the law, but he's like...
How you can imagine...
Did they confirm he did? No, you gotta show me. No way.
If there's any point to parsing the words that Donald Trump said in it, or Joe Biden.
He used it correctly. Yes, he used the word correctly.
There's no content.
Campaign management.
It is meaningless.
Okay.
They are
That's awesome.
syllables. This is Dutch Schultz's last words. There's plenty to be afraid about, obviously.
Biden uses inshallah.
Politically, economically, ecologically, whatever you want to, however you want to talk about it. But those two men, are not going to be the authors of any of it.
No.
They're not going to think up anything and then make it happen.
They're not a part of large-scale social change progress.
For systems
that
much
fragile, think of it
faster,
tier
more
2
horrifying than either of them could be.
That fragile, think of it tier 2.
Those are going to bring us towards our, if it happens,
I say it twice
some
if you tier 2. I say it 3 times.
More likely,
if you
it's just
tier 3.
going to be the slow, continuing grinding and immiseration of everyone over time.
That was a thought I had that was interesting. I think it was, I made that joke about, like a part of the debate is they're going to be given like a blank piece of paper and a pen, and they're going to draw a clock from scratch. You know, it's like the test to make sure like an old person doesn't have the effects, the like visual spatial effects of dementia, and whoever draws the best clock wins the presidency. And it's just like the idea of those two guys being the representatives of the world historical force, the most powerful nation in all of world history, and millions of people within it, and it's a political election cycle, millions of people going out and deciding which one they want, this massive political, social, organization over quite a couple months to decide which one is better. Just the idea of that is so fucking absurd. It's so insane. It's hard to describe.
Which is why my main takeaway, if you want me to get horse racy with it from all that, is that Biden's going to win.
Yeah, I think so.
And handily. Kind of make a joke of the whole thing. Like, win by a surprising amount. Because when you saw that, people talk about, oh, Trump was alpha, or Biden said X.
He literally said fucking inshallah.
I think that Trump is not out of his desire, not out of his master plan, because he is a figurehead, because he is this figure of psychic energy that so many millions of people put their focus on, either because they hate him or they love him. He has created a political culture now that is way overheated. Like, given our decrepit 300-year-old fucking constitution and our non-functioning government and minority rule and all this stuff, the checks and the balances, all that beautiful stuff that worked when the government was.
If
just
Biden, the thing of like Trump not stepping down is sort of bullshit. If the Electoral College deems that Biden wins, Trump is going to have to step down. They won't let him stay in. The military, secret, intelligence agencies will not allow it.
Little ornament for all the richest dandies.
They don't. They like
much
those like imperial institutions, like the popular legitimacy of like an election. It makes their jobs much easier.
Time in the library and needed someplace to hang out. While the real
There's
men
a
did
chance.
the work
There's a chance Trump steals it through the ballot stuff. Yes.
Fucking conquering the continent. Like when that's what.
That won't relate to Trump
Congress
not
was
stepping
just
down.
This parlor game for the wealthiest in the country, where the mass majority of people were either too busy making money or making other people money to give a shit what happened to it, or even imagine what was happening there. Now it's supposed to be the actual governing body of a fucking world-bestriding colossus at this point. And all of these populations that in the American, the early American era, under the early Constitution, were not even part of the political calculus, like Native Americans, like African Americans, like women, are now part of it. All of that increases the cultural heat. But what's driving the cultural heat is immiseration, is how bad everything is for people day to day. Not just the Cheeto in chief and not shit on TV. Lived motherfucking experience. It's worse for people than it has been in this country for a very long time, and only gets worse. And so Trump is this figure who is like, he's the sorcerer's apprentice, rising up these giant gusts of popular animus, both against him and for him, that cannot be contained by our rickety-ass constitutional system.
Yeah.
They are out of proportion. The question is really, are they out of proportion to the crisis in the system? Or does Trump provide a specific enhancer? And I think we're going to find out on Election Day, obviously. Forget about coup and counter-coup and Proud Boys at the ballot box. I think the most likely thing that's going to happen is the rubber's going to meet the road. And as bad as it is for people in this country, it's still, relative to everyone else in the world, pretty damn good. And now more than ever, we know that. We know we still have something to lose. Even the people among us who are suffering, because you're not suffering as much as somebody waiting to get in this country on the other side of the border fence, or somebody fucking in a dinghy in the Mediterranean. And of course, we have the fact that we've depoliticized half the people to not even see a political answer to any of these problems. I think that we're all going to look at ourselves, and Trump will be the option of keeping ringing the bell and keep it this frenzy of urgency. And I think that good enough people are just going to say, no, we're not. Do we really want to? Because if Trump's president, we're going to eventually have to have a civil war. Like, we're going to have one. Forget the material conditions. Trump being president will stoke us beyond everything, and we will make that leap into action and violence, and then people will see other people do it and be inspired and join, and you actually could have a civil war. But I don't think people want one. Not the people who vote in this country. I don't really think they do. And I think that, sure, obviously none of this applies to Trump's base, because obviously it doesn't. Saying that point doesn't mean anything. I'm saying for the people who he needs to elect him, I think more.
His base is getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah, this is not I'm not going to get a gun. I'm not going to stand in front of a Walmart trying to fend it off from BLM or whatever the fuck. I don't want to do that. And Biden is the alternative to that. And that's why I think he's probably going to win, and kind of maybe hilariously by a big margin. Like, he's at the cusp now
Texas.
in these pollings of going between, like...
look, like, Nate got it wrong before, but he got it wrong by an acceptable margin. Like, Trump winning, given the circumstances, it was, like, pretty unlikely. Yeah, Texas, like, I mean, if Texas is blue, Biden wins easily. It's not even fucking close. 70-30. I mean, that's like, and these are just polls, right? I mean, Trump is leading a bit. I don't know. I guess with with what's it called? With like mail-in voting suppression shit. But like, look at all of these options with the red Texas. Like how Biden is very deeply like. I mean, yes, libs want to go back to brunch. Like that's literally one of the reasons Biden might win so much. People want to go back to brunch. They want to go have brunch. That's genuinely, I think, yeah.
Now, of course, obviously,
polling has changed since 2016 because of how much they fucked it. I think you could argue they're potentially favoring Trump a little bit more than is like fair, as a way to compensate.
People just like ask yourself this question: do you feel like we're in the material conditions to have an actual materially based civil war, as in a battle over resources, not ideas, battle over resources in this country, when there's still fucking Mountain Dew coming out of the taps?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you really think that's true?
The American public still has freedom, and it's freedom is their idea of freedom, which is I'm able to go to Subway, I'm able to indulge in the extra sugary bread at Subway, I'm able to go get my hair cut, I'm able to go to McDonald's and say that fucking Cactus Jack sent me, and then get a fucking Travis Scott burger. That's freedom. And if it continues, for the American, it's just pure consumerism. If that continues, yeah, I don't see
or
how.
Is the orange man screaming noises that we're all trying to listen to and make sense of, but are noises, animal noises, honks, and utterances. It's like we made like a pig that like wandered into the distillery shed and like ate some fermented pumpkins and is now shit-faced and is wandering around the fucking backyard, and you all decide that he's a learned pig, and you're gonna gather around him and listen to his oinkings and try to figure out what he's saying, and then he's gonna be in charge, and what he says is in charge. That's where we are.
American consumer culture has turned us into like peasants.
Trump.
Or consumer culture in general.
I think people are gonna say
you become a peasant.
Nah. Let's just turn it
down. You relate to the world through these like larger systems or structures that are like very explicitly like just like corporations, right?
Suck and it's bad and fucking Corona and all that, but do I want to get shot? No. But this comes to the real like revelation point I had after this whole thing happened is like when I say I think Biden's going to win based on the debate, it's not based on anything that was said by either of them. And there's no point in parsing anything they say. That was my great revelation, is that I don't have to, and I'm going to try not to, and you guys can yell at me if I don't. I will try not to talk anymore in public, or even as little as I can to myself in my own internal fucking monologue about Trump's statements, about Biden's statements, about what they mean, about what he's signaling, about... Nope.
You have no idea who to vote? Honestly, my sincere recommendation, if you give a shit enough to vote, is like if you're in a swing state, probably Biden, I guess. But otherwise, you shouldn't give a shit. Or like a battleground state. And you really, like, you have the energy to fucking show up, then sure.
Stakes are still high, and saying that...
But otherwise, yeah, who gives a fuck? If you're in fucking California or whatever, don't waste your
energy. Doesn't mean don't care about the election. Of course care about the election. The stakes are very high. I just said, we keep Trump in here, we could push past the precipice just because of how hyper-saturated with politics every fabric of culture
purely,
becomes.
The only reason you would ever vote is not as a result of like a Marxist analysis. You know, I read Lenin and he told me to vote or whatever bullshit. It's a pure like moralism of like things will be slightly better. Maybe there's the only possibility that America has of like dealing with coronavirus is a very slim chance that Biden handles it competently. Trump will never handle it competently. 4 more years of Trump and coronavirus will be in America for 4 more years. You can fucking quote me on that. So it's like a pure moralism of like, I feel for people and things might be slightly better for them. It's not a political progress shit. Because I don't think I don't think the election is really relevant for like the development of class consciousness, which is why Marxists are more likely to say that they don't give a shit, is because it's far less. And for people who think about politics in a more moralistic, less of an objective, material, analytical way, why they're more likely to say you should side with Biden, is literally just as a result of like moralisms.
I'm betting.
And a moralistic understanding of politics. But that element of me would say, yeah, sure. If you want to do,
there's still enough elastic. There's still enough resistance in the band before the snapback in terms of material conditions in this country, where you're never more than 300 fucking feet from a Taco Bell, or you can get in a car to get one. And as much as there's still misery in this country, the most deeply abject misery in this country is felt by people who aren't involved in any of this and don't vote and aren't even aware of this bullshit. And sure shit aren't listening to the fucking president to hear the coded messages to his army of Nazis or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, absolutely. Immediate release fascism versus extended release fascism, and the world burns down. The world has the exact fucking same chance of burning down regardless, basically.
So, if you want to do horse race stuff, you can look at polls, and you can just take a temperature check of where you think the material conditions are. You don't have to care about any of this. And you can be entertained by it, but you cannot try to pull meaning out of it. And there is a distinction there, because the moment that really, what got me there is that I did in fact do a lot of drugs for, I'll fair cop it right now, for the debate, because it did seem like this thing coming together, these two guys, it was so symbolically freighted that I'm like, okay, I have to know what this is. And
did
it has to mean
stream
something.
The debate? I don't think
have to get meaning out of this, because if my life, which has been organized around things like this, having meaning, like my professional life, and before that, my spiritual life, I guess you would call it,
was
before
Matt
I really
there?
knew I even had one, like my attempt to grasp towards politics.
It was horrendous.
And I got it because what I found myself doing in the middle of the debate was being caught between the totalized moment of these guys yelling at each other, and Chris Wallace piping in from the sidelines, and just having overwhelmed me the sense of like how hilariously fraudulent the entire terms of this are. Like, this was an Emperor's No Scrolls moment of, oh yeah, these guys aren't in charge of anything.
Yeah.
These guys don't run shit. And so what does it fucking matter what they say? And that was smashing against my need to like deliver commentary and respond, and that would get me connected to like fact checker brain and like trying to put these in rhetorical sense and like, well,
I think for the most part, our understanding of politics as like there are people who are in charge of this shit and they got it, so don't really worry, is sort of a fiction in the first place. But I think it's a particularly absurd here. Like, to the extent in which we can conceptualize even like a revolutionary like Castro, let's say, who like was one of the main kind of runners and the guys in the Cuban Revolution to kick out Batista, an American imperialist, corporate interests in the forced labor that happened in plantations, for like bananas, etc. The banana companies and banana-esque companies that had a grip over so much of the life of Cubans before Castro's revolution. Like, to the extent that even someone like Castro really had control of what was going on, I think is relatively minimal. We're all slaves to our material context and to the world and the world's larger scale movements, even if you are a person with like power. What is the Parenti quote or whatever about figures like Mao and Lenin and Stalin being caught up in these like 700-year historical whirlwinds and being like spit out of them. To a large extent, like the politics of like individuals is something that we like to look up at and see Mangard, my Nustings, which is a great name. I don't know what that means. I'm sure it means something bad. Thank you for the 2 months. It's just we like stories. We like to look up and be like, well, he's got it. He's in charge. Comrade Stalin understands Marx and the dialectic, and we will make it through, and we will do socialism. We did it. It's good. When in reality, that's not really how things work. The individual isn't really in control of history. It's not the individual unit. It's not the unit of history that the world's history happens by any respect. Ebb Tides. Thank you for the Jeff Bezos bucks.
That who's going to benefit from that, and imagining what Joe
is reify. I can't remember in what context.
Know who the fuck that is, and it's just me.
Did I say re-up? Probably.
Those two things couldn't be contained in the same moment, or I tried to. I held them in my head as long as I could during the course of the debate, and then afterwards, I just had to sit with myself and be like.
Anytime Liv posts in a private account, I've been saying this. Couldn't agree more.
As much as you think you can, you cannot.
Who controls history? The material forces. No one controls it in a sense, but class antagonism, large-scale material interests, and their action throughout all of society. We can think of in a Hegelian sense, that in certain world historical situations, there's like world history is intensified on very specific people, or very specific groups, like Napoleon represented world history for Hegel throughout the Napoleonic Wars. That doesn't mean that he controls history in a Hegelian sense at all. In any sense. Hegel was not a believer in the great man theory. But in fact, that world history revolving around you isn't always the best thing. And there are others around one, and there are other forces that can push up against that. And when they push up against that, they push up against you.
Because you will lose the deeper realization. Because I could feel myself getting pulled towards forensic dissection of this shit, like trying to fucking do an autopsy on a turd. And I said, no. Oh, that's just going to make this worse, because you find yourself this anxious point waiting to try to figure out what's being said, because you can never know. You can't know. Oh, he was signaling to the Proud Boys. They're going to show up and kill everyone on Election Day. How will you know that until it happens or not? You will have no way of knowing. You are just done. You're shifting through that fucking chicken.
Are you saying the world is completely determined? Not necessarily. That's a fallacy, I guess. To say that there are world historical forces that exist outside of your individual control, that are the shapers and the determinants of history, is not to say that history has already happened, because history does happen. It's happening now and continues to happen. Yeah, I think that's not.
To augur out a fucking.
Like, even if free will doesn't exist, history is not determined. That's like a That's like a fallacy or whatever. That's like incorrect.
Auspice.
Unless there's a God out there. If we don't have free will and it's God deciding the world, then yes, sure, if you have a God figure. But
as soon as I saw people talking about, did he signal to the Proud Boys? I don't know. I think he was being mistaken, and that was actually two different questions. It's like, that's Q. That thinking is QAnon thinking, even if it's coming from people who are politically sophisticated and fact-based and reasonable. And on the left, like the actual, like, serious left.
I want to see this point more.
Talking about, does he signal to the Proud Boys? I don't know. I think he was being mistaken, and that was actually two different questions. It's like, that's Q. That thinking is QAnon thinking, even if it's coming from people who are politically sophisticated and fact-based and reasonable. And on the left, like the actual, like, serious left, not even the liberal left, that's Q thinking. That's what the Q people do, and that's what we're all going to do. All the politically minded people.
Yeah, that's true. We're just gonna go fucking insane.
It becomes more and more a spectacle that we have to invest with. We will all turn into Q, if we keep our mind on these things having semantic weight.
They're like we're in the cave, and don't take this analogy too seriously. We're in fucking Plato's cave, and we're seeing these like mirages and shadows, and we're trying to make sense of them.
Specific terms and words and phrases.
The debate has no real reference to like the things that are going on.
that we have to decipher instead of there being just a
Yeah.
totalizing reality. Because that's what Q people are in that same box. Like, they recognize the sham, you know? Like, they don't understand the terms of it. They think it's satanic pedophiles or something instead of capitalists. But they understand the terms that this country that they think they live in is a nightmare, and someone is making that way. Someone with power.
They understand
do
things
recognize
are
that
wrong.
There's power there.
They have no capacity to actually articulate what's wrong, though.
Because they're fucking Americans, and they're getting all their shit from the fucking shit tube. But they're also, from that realization, trying to get to truth through discrete decoding of the words of people like Donald Trump. And so that's how you get them saying, like, all the pedophiles are going to get executed in March 15th because look at the 3 letters that he misspelled, 3 words he misspelled in this tweet and how it spells out that date or whatever. That's the same thing. It's not as diluted, but it is on a continuum of abstraction towards just self-destroying hysteria to go through his phrases, going through the sentences he said. Did any of them complete a sentence in that? Did anyone actually have a noun, a fucking verb, like in the right order, in a fucking thing, like subject, object, period, big letter at the front, period at the end? Did any of them have a complete sentence in the entire event? There can be no meaning drawn from those things, and that means we have to disengage from it as at this point, because we're not really powerful and we're all waiting for election day, basically. We're treating it as an auspice. We're treating it as like the musings of like the Oracle of Delphi after they got her hopped up on mushrooms. We're trying to hear the future, but we can't know it from that. We can't know. We can't know the future. We can only know what's around us and the people we love, the world we want to see, and how we can try to use all the things around us to make that happen. So if you want to watch the debate, I'm going to keep watching the debates. I'm going to keep talking about this election, but I'm going to make a concerted effort to remove it entirely from any kind of context of political meaning.
Yeah.
It is entirely aesthetic.
Absolutely.
Aesthetic appreciation.
There's no actual reference. There is signifier. There is no signified. It's like a.
Who are into politics?
The people who are into politics and they've derived meaning from these like debates, etc., are totally like, their understanding of the world is one that like doesn't have some concrete signified thing that is in reference to.
Aren't only into politics because they care about people.
It's
it's
a dangling reference.
Like sports, there's an aesthetic appreciation of politics just as much as they're in for sports. And so, if we can isolate it and use it in that way, then
the Biden Green Deal is so funny.
But if we take these fucking gibberish and we try to just rearrange the letters into coherence that is just being provided by our own neuroses, because it's just a reflection of what we're thinking, it's not really there.
This is also to say, and all of this is that it isn't an actual reference to people's like material worlds and the consequences of those material worlds and how they are built and how you convince people to develop some sort of horizontal like class consciousness. It's not through fucking debate watching. It's not through like following American politics and getting really interested in Biden versus fucking Trump. It's through the exact opposite of that.
And we're not coordinating with anybody. We're not checking our work against.
That's why like socialists who think that the like primary ought of their political praxis is getting Biden across the, like dragging fucking like Weekend at Bernie styles Biden across the finish line so that he wins is like the most important thing they have to do. Is it's no, as a socialist, your project cannot be completed, however like slightly better it absolutely objectively would be if Biden won. However, like putting all of your effort. I don't think Vosh even does this. All of your effort into getting fucking Biden elected as the most politically important task that one can do is like totally like not connected to a socialist politic. It's a lib politic. You're never going to get to your achievements politically as a socialist through doing that. It's a side project.
All making independent judgments and then bashing each other's against one another. So yeah, I was very pleased with it afterwards. I mean, I tweeted right afterwards as a joke. I said it on the stream. I said the real winners of tonight's debate were the American people because of how hilariously wrong that was. But as you see people really freaking out after that debate, being like, oh my God, and hyperventilating, one way or the other, I think it really was good for the winner really was the American people. Just because I'm not going to say it's going to be, some wake-up moment for a lot of people, but it was for me, in the sense that it took something I knew, but only intellectually, and now made me feel it, which is
a lot of undecideds are just like, fuck it, I'm not voting. This is stupid.
Real knowledge is, it's not reciting, it's not having a dry axiom. It is experiencing that in your life and then associating it with specific feelings, contexts, memories that can then keep you there. They can when you
Trump
find
has
yourself
coronavirus?
straying,
No, you're trolling me. This isn't real.
And that is what that debate.
Wait, what? Hope Hicks, who traveled with Trump aboard Air Force One to and from the presidential debate on Tuesday and to his Minnesota rally, is corona. White House sources to limit COVID-19 exposure to greatest possible extent possible, both on complex and when the president is traveling. Oh, he might have COVID. He might have COVID, dude. He might have COVID. I mean, this has fucking happened before. So, given that like this has happened before and nothing happened to Trump, probably not, but fucking maybe he might actually have COVID.
It did for me, and if you had eyes to see, it did it for you too. I'm not saying, but I of course was in a very specific situation to be in that way. I cheated. I did a bunch of drugs, and that because I'm a cheater, because I'm a bounder, because I'm louche, because I'm a Nietzsche's last man. I'm a fucking small-souled bug creature over here. Of course I cheated. That's one of the reasons that psychedelic drugs are so dangerous for like your long-term mental health is because what they essentially do in terms of your body, in terms of your like body chemistry, is they put you in a super advanced state of meditative focus, the kind that can be usually only attained by incredibly determined pursuit. And it just pops you there, like within half an hour of taking it. Problem with that is that deep meditative state, that deep sensory awareness, that perception of everything around you that happens at a deep level of concentration, where you start noticing the porousness of all these like perceived
No, this is great. Don't tell them to fuck off. I love it.
Truthfully feel the imminence, God's
you ever
grace,
tried
if you want to be
DMT?
Christian about it, or just that hum, the universal hum of the thing that you're always been a part of and you're going to return to, and you're not part of
Matt
now.
is
And it's all
a
an
crank.
illusion. You feel that. Now, if you feel that in a state of,
He's just vibing.
if you get that from intense concentration, which has been achieved through discipline, you're in a position to do something useful with that feeling. You are sitting probably on a mountaintop somewhere in a situation, maybe monastic or some sort of pursuit of, your personal study. It has integrated your life. It has made you live a life that has enough space in it for you to dedicate that much time to being alone and sitting and thinking and controlling your surroundings. Which means when you get that insight, you can imprint it on the world as it is. If you get that deep meditative state overnight like that, without the discipline, as Dr. Ian Malcolm said, the discipline necessary to attain it, then you have that perception surrounded by what? What got you there? What got you to that moment? It wasn't fucking rigorous pursuit of anything. It was flight from truth. And so, what are you seeing now with that deep meditative fixation of sense? You're seeing these screaming goblins in front of you. That's dangerous. But it can be good too, if you can recognize the goblins for what they are and not decide that the symbolic abstraction thing and have that be adhered to that sense, that feeling of
spirituality.
Oneness.
The left needs some meaningful social, like, capacity to generate social cohesion among the working class, like a real understanding of solidarity in an emotional kind of in sense, a real, like, there's the Kierkegaardian kind of idea that there's a difference between rationally believing something and, like, emotionally believing something with, like, your soul, you know, with, like, you really feel it. And you need, it's not a leap of faith, it's a leap towards faith. I don't know why people kept saying leap of faith. Kierkegaard made that term and it's mistranslated, because the leap you take is towards faith. It's not, it doesn't, yeah. It's a mistranslation. It's shaking my head. You have to really feel it. And that's, like, class consciousness is that, really. In a certain sense, I don't have class consciousness, nor do I think most people. You believe something rationally, but, like, you don't feel that connection. I don't feel that connection to people around me, even if I believe it rationally. And there needs to be some sort of social,
It does transmit knowledge.
capacity to develop that. Like, I mean, it's like, you know, late capitalism just, like, breaks apart our capacity to see each other as beings, as egos that are connected in some way. The left has no vibe. And we need to develop that sort of rhizomatic, that sort of assemblage of consciousness.
Because now instead of learning, oh yeah, this is a puppet show, you're learning, no, the puppets are talking to me. I'm the only one who knows.
It's not superstitious. It's a feeling based on a reality, based on a material reality. One that hasn't developed and that needs to. And that society is so far away that it's hard to explain to people why they need to wear a mask to help others. They don't feel that connection to such an extent, and for the most part, it's hard to even explain to people why rationally they should wear a mask. They need to feel a connection. They need to understand at a deeper level that, like, we're all in this together, man, and that if you wear a mask, it helps a lot of people out. And if you take a vaccine, it helps a lot of people out.
Really saying.
And that that's a vibe. That's an emotional thing.
So, all in all, good debate. Had a fun time. Looking forward to the next ones. I think that Pence and Harris.
That's not anti-material, by the way. Your emotions and your feelings are connected to the material world.
Hilarious, because there's going to be a ton of pressure.
Human phenomena is contextualized in the political.
Make that one normal.
It is a political problem. It's not like a
to reassure people.
Let's go do a silent retreat, man. We'll develop class consciousness. That's not what I'm saying.
Of normality. And it'll be funny to see how that plays out. I will say that people are mad at Nancy Pelosi for saying that thing about how we need a good Republican Party, and you know what? From her perspective, she's 100% correct.
Yeah, I don't get why people.
What she's saying is that because we do not have two parties, right, fighting over power, we have two branches of a broader capitalist party whose conflicts are stage managed to avoid discussions of deeper structural issues. We cannot afford to have wild unstable polarization whereby people won't accept the division of government, like the seesawing back and forth, turnismo as they used to call it in
the material and the ideal have
that
a
allows the
dialectical
pressures, the social
relationship.
pressures
Yeah,
to
sure.
relieve. Oh, all these Democrats are pretty mad. Well, we'll get a Democrat in the White House, and they won't be mad anymore. All these Republicans are pretty mad. Don't worry, we'll get a Democrat in there.
That's pretty much how that works. Yeah.
That's what keeps the lungs moving. The lungs of
the
democracy
material is
moving.
the final like base determinant.
And Trump
but yes.
is threatening that. He's legitimately threatening that. He is raising the stakes emotionally for politics in a way that our system does not want, which is why I think that push comes to shove, he's going to go. And go quietly, because he's a fucking pussy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Trump's a total pussy.
You think he has the guts to tell the beautiful generals what to do if they tell him they're not
No.
going to fucking support him?
No.
Give me a break. I'm not even, like, fuck that. Like, fucking Mitch McConnell probably wouldn't even fucking say boo-doo.
Trump
But
is
again,
like a Queenie New York real estate guy.
The answers to these things are not to be
He's
found.
not. There's like a machismo to his like close my window. My window's closed. What do you mean? There's like a machismo to Trump's politic, but it's totally fucking no.
In discussions of the statements.
He's a petty
of any
gossip.
of these gibbering
Gossiper.
Escapees from arrest home.
Trump is queer coded, absolutely.
I'm sorry, guys. It's magic hour back here, but it makes it hard to post. This is all right.
Trump is a Jewish American princess.
So I hope now it'll be very
Actually,
interesting for me
he's
to try to
neither
watch
three.
these
He isn't either of those three things. He's not Jewish. He's not a princess, and he's certainly not an American.
in mind, like with this focusing agent in mind, that will
I think he's from Russia.
allow me to avoid the temptation to turn myself into Q by trying to pull meaning out of that shit. And the beauty of this is that even if it wasn't, even if watching that debate wasn't like revelatory to you, if you listen to what I'm saying or you hear somebody else say a similar thing and it makes sense to you, hopefully that memory connected to the debate, like the reality of that debate and the memory of watching it, can provide at least a fraction of what it can that is provided for me in terms of what I hope to be a practice of avoiding going down this fucking rabbit hole, because all it does is lead me farther from knowing what I'm talking about, because it's all bullshit. It's all conjecture.
Absolutely.
What someone else is going to do who isn't you, which you can't
Absolutely.
know. It's none of it's structure. It's all rhetoric. Remember, we're talking about what are these words going to lead to other people doing?
This is actually a much better articulation of the point I was making before about how stupid like a lot of online politics are, where it's like it's all a fucking all online posting is a fucking mirage. It will do is mislead you. It's not the realm of political action.
Not at the level here that we need to be talking about.
So what I usually do is strip it back, put it inside, and just cut it. I know the limit should be. You want the flashlight to shine inside it,
Heard the posting from your name. I'm a like a traitor to posting. I post, but I say it's bad. It's like when Engels critiques capitalism, but he's like a landed gentry or whatever. All online posting, it's not like an absolutist statement. It's more about a statement of a general tendency. Insofar as like if you really want to get political action done, the best place to look in terms of like I want my labor and work to be the most efficient in terms of change is the real world, is like outside.
Man, the sun is really pursuing
That's
me
more
across
what
this
it's about.
place here. All right, that's not too bad.
The internet is an extension of our phenomenological sphere of influence.
need more slack.
But in the same sense that the fucking debates are, right?
So I don't know what anyone else's experience was, but for me, very, very, very good. And I'm very much looking forward to watching these.
Well, yeah, and also like phenomena itself is not necessarily valuable.
The rest,
at least with like an understanding of ideology. It's why like I'm sort of skeptical of like the critical phenomenologists and that sort of intellectual tradition, because I think that with the critique of ideology and like an understanding of the ways in which phenomena are like affected by the material worlds, phenomena and the reference to phenomena itself, etc., isn't useful. They can't tell us things about the worlds and even about like
debates
how experience is developed.
Through that
I think
lens, and using my memory of the first one to pull myself out of the spiraling, because it really does, more than anything, just make it harder for me, my job. I do care about like being right, because I care about conveying things that are helpful, both in terms of entertainment, but also if it's going to be practical in any way, not wrong. And every time I find myself getting into these discussions, I've noticed, and this, like thinking back on it, I noticed even more. Even as it was happening, was feeling the anxiety build up, but I wasn't really acknowledging or understanding where it was coming from. It was because as I was trying to build up around these specific questions, I would keep bumping up against this insecurity in my understanding, because it was based on nothing. I was just guessing. I was guessing what other people were going to do, and all I can do but to do that is say, well, what if I was somebody else? Well, how would I have imagined that? What would that make me do?
In the material world, or by structuralization?
How can you never ask that question? That's why you have to materially analyze things. And
yeah, by ideology.
And I just never, it didn't occur to me how deeply that implications of that run. Because the implications of that really are that you can't think about what these guys are saying about what it means.
Alex, thank you for the 4,000 make me read a quote. Posting is praxis. Psych. Not. It's dumb.
But what people are going to take from it. Because you can't know what people are going to take from things. And so I would find myself getting agitated and like starting to wonder, well, maybe I'm not good at this. Maybe I'm doing a bad job. Maybe I'm hurting people by giving them bad advice because I don't even know. And it's because I'm Wile E. Coyote running off the cliff with my fucking legs blasting around, not recognizing that the goddamn ground is gone. And it's not that these guys' words don't have meaning. Like Trump's stoking of like resistance, he's going to keep people killed. 1,000,000%. He is going to get people killed. Obviously, he's already gotten people killed. He will get more people killed. When I say he will, I mean in the sense of, yes, somebody will hear what he says, and yes, he will use that as an excuse to go do violence.
Yep.
100%. I think that will happen. But when I imagine that, that's just because I still have to imagine someone else. But the question I can't answer is how many? How many boils down to demographic questions. How many people are in X position to have Y response when they get Z stimuli in the form of Trump's speeches?
I defeated you,
Without
Alex.
that information, I cannot move forward. And maybe that information is available, but I think more realistically for me, just cut it off. Get rid of it. Throw it in the garbage. Aesthetically appreciate it maybe, but remove the flush. Remove the flush of consequence. Make it into a game and not war.
Yeah. That's what I've been trying to do.
Material stuff should be war always, and at war you are sharpest, But if you're war in the clouds, you'll go mad.
This kind of talk can end up sounding like stoic indifference. Doesn't prescribe some real action. I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess if your like theory of the world doesn't have any meaningful mode of action, and you're saying that like online stuff doesn't matter, then yeah, that's stoic indifference. But that's not what's going on, right?
Well, it's horrible to imagine violence happening because of these awful words of this awful man.
All
Beyond
cops are bad cops.
Log off in your hearts.
Golf player, thank you for 3 months. Well, to the point of like not having any prescription outside of just telling people to organize, if there is no prescription that can be provided through online stuff, then why would you spend a shit ton of time attempting to prescribe shit through online?
And we have to ask ourselves, what can we do about it? We can vote, and if that seems consequential to you, for the love of God, do it. But beyond that, all we can really do is help the people around us.
DSA sent you tips for organizing?
And see what those connections lead
that's
to.
good.
Where our abilities...
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could just tell people to organize better. But I don't think if, like, you don't spend as much time attempting to do that it in any way, like, leads into the stoic indifference.
Skills, passions, uses can be applied.
Stoicism isn't indifferent. Yeah, I mean, I think that was just like not a precise use of the word, which is fine.
We can't know that from looking at the chicken guts and trying to see the flight of the fucking ravens over the fucking forum.
I mean, yes, organize is the same as, like, organize is the left version of libs telling people to vote, of course.
Someone's first episode of season 4 Fargo sucked. Gotta say, agreed. Not looking forward to this season, boy. I will say that, in fairness, I don't think the last season started terribly strong, but I do think the second half of the third season of Fargo is the best the show ever was, IMO, in the first 3 seasons. It just ended so great. So maybe they'll bring it around, but the first 2 episodes were a little dire.
That's the one we was running. Like, you don't need me back there no more, right?
And it's not because
I think that's also, we've also learned to copy quote unquote successful people online who are often grifters looking for notoriety. That's another good actual point of like why you shouldn't treat posting stuff as like very political.
Finally addressing race.
I think that like the socialist gun girl, like whatever fucking archetype is being created by the newer kind of group of left posters that have just like suddenly gotten really prevalent out of nowhere, how it's like such a grifty fucking mode of the way they doing politics.
Do it. The way they do it is the way everybody does it. So it's boring. There's nothing
and that people shouldn't learn from them. They shouldn't be the examples. That's bad.
There's nothing interesting to it. And that's because clearly Noah Hawley didn't care about this stuff. And it's now being imposed by an expectation culturally. And now he's doing something he doesn't really believe in, I think. Because it just feels so hollow. And,
cyberbullying does cause people to take their own lives, and K-pop stans had a material impact on a Trump rally. I don't even think... I think that was overblown. The, like, people not showing up. But also, like, did that convince anyone to, like, change their politic? It seems like it's purely in reference to just, like, online stuff. Also, the bar for, like, large-scale social change shouldn't be like, well, people have the capacity to bully people into suicide online, so clearly there's a lot of power to online stuff. I don't know. You can't do that for, like, reactionary social and political institutions. So I don't think that analogy works. But yeah, like the people not showing up to fucking rallies or whatever, like what did they really do? That still feels like it's in the realm of like you're in, and again, this analogy isn't precise, but like you're in Plato's cave or whatever, and you're seeing the mirages, and there's no real reference to actual politics. The people who saw that, who don't like Trump, are like, well, the orange man was owned. We got him. We got his ass. We did it. There aren't that many people in the rally. And the people who like Trump were like, all of these like foreign interference by like, Korean agents or whatever insane thing they said. They're trying to make this country really bad or whatever. It turns into culture war shit. And what is a better example of like a mirage that is taking the place of politics that doesn't actually do anything than culture war bullshit, right?
That means, should there be a show about a mob war, but involving like a black gang family that like involves the deep questions of America's racial history and hierarchy and like what whiteness is and all that stuff and how that
Seattle actually did a
relates to
good thing with the cops. What do you mean?
The Midwestern identity.
What is that in reference to?
Very interesting questions. Clearly, though, he's not the guy to ask them.
If the example is Chaz, I wouldn't conceptualize Chaz as online organizing.
Because it's not because he couldn't in some abstract sense, like he doesn't have the talent to. It's clearly not what interests him.
Right?
It's not what got him into the
That
project.
was outside. That was the world.
But that's why we get worse art as things get more like woke. But the wokeness isn't what makes it bad. It's because instead of a thousand flowers blooming, like
wasn't Chaz infested with rad libs? Every single political action. Chaz was also pretty online. That's true, actually. Every single, and that's a problem because it's like, yeah, the people who were saying that like they decolonized Seattle or whatever, insane. Like that's not what decolonization is. That's an insult to like actual. Did Chaz have a Discord? Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, sure. I guess that's a good example of that, and like the flaws of it being so fucking online. Ish. I don't know. I feel like it's hard to analyze a lot of the shit that happened to Chaz. The mode of understanding what happened there is so like dispersed and random and influenced by so many different things that it could potentially be false information.
Different.
Yeah, what were we saying before though? Oh yeah, everything is going to be infested with rad libs. The best you could hope for in a political org is rad libs. In America? Are you serious? What, as opposed to
experiences and lived identities?
The shit ton of Marxists that would all come to form a political org that actually had power in America and could push up against institutions? No.
Being able to create in an open market.
If the critique is that it's infested by rad libs, like yeah, get ready for organizing in American politics. That's the best you could hope for.
Well, that's not what we have. That's not our culture is, and that's not how media is created. Media is concentrated by
Marxists
firms,
with power,
capitalist nodes.
Lol.
That sit as gatekeepers, and like all capital nodes, is just a fucking piled high with accumulated and passed down wealth from the first generations of people to take
there are
power
no
there.
socialists in America. A lot of like rad libs are socialists or say they're socialists. I think they're socialists. I think that's a fine characterization. Because people have been so like, I mean, it's just like American liberal individualism has had such a significant effect on our world and our understanding of the world that one of the main ways in which people relate a radical politic is through the language of like, freedom, universal, like, rights, a rights-based system, like individual freedoms, let's say, like ideas that come out of the French Revolution and are very specifically liberal. The like,
i.e.
the ethos of a socialist, the authentically socialist, anti-capitalist, like, superstructure that could potentially come is like so far from existing. The material scientific socialist analysis of historical progress doesn't exist, and you can't expect it to.
So
yeah,
when the cultural wins,
socialist only in its tendencies, sort of. Yeah, I guess that's a more happy way of articulating
move
it.
in the direction of,
which is like how Marx referred to the Paris Commune, right? Which is to say that they weren't socialist explicitly, but the political and social, like the material organization that was being developed was socialistic or had the capacity to develop a socialist ethos.
Of wanting to see voices, wanting to see alternatives and the whole color of life.
Anyways.
Instead of getting experiences from people of all those colors of life, inflecting this art, we get the same old fucking suits and the same old cotier of professionals with maybe a trickling in of diversity hires and affirmative action cases in order to like assuage everybody's conscience and feel less guilty about themselves. They're gonna tell those stories even though they don't speak to anyone with a creative spirit involved in the productions at all. It's purely compelled from without. It doesn't come from within. It doesn't come from those other perspectives that are supposed to be viewed. Because when we're watching Marvel movies, we're not really watching representation. Like, yes, Ryan Coogler is black, you know, but the Marvel machinery that made Black Panther is not black in any meaningful cultural sense.
That was a thing that who the fuck he played Finn. John Boyega articulated this point. And it's a more extreme and obvious point in something like Star Wars, where like in terms of the main cast there was like one black person, which is to say that like it's far more of like a tokenization and a sort of cynical appropriation that gets Marvel money than it is any sort of like
and Ryan Coogler specific.
I mean, yeah, obviously in fucking it sells, yeah. In Black Panther, the white guy who's the CIA agent saves the day.
Or the writer's specific blackness, or
the anti-colonial, like the very explicitly anti-colonial perspective is like hyper exaggerated, and it's this attempt to do a reverse colonialism as opposed to a destruction or a severance of the colonial distinction itself.
Frank Ocean's specific blackness, they cannot overcome the corporate swill. They get their
we can look at the
passion for it.
This is funny. Scott Adams. So like, can you hear like a thumping? There's like a noise up here that I hear, but if it doesn't pick up on the mic, then it's fine. Okay, you're good? Okay.
When the Fine People hoax came up again, I literally stood up from the couch and said, here it is. Here's the moment where Trump just has to say, you know, you based your entire campaign on that lie.
Some minorities. No, someone is stomping above me. And it's very annoying to me, but if you can't hear it, then it doesn't matter.
I encourage everybody to look at the transcript, and you'll see that the part that they cut out is the part where I clarified that I'm condemning those groups. If he had said that, I would have said, I'm really happy that I've spent so much of my time and my personal credibility, a great deal of money. I would say that my personal financial situation is way worse, because of supporting the president. There's no question about that. And I thought, it's so obvious what you should say in this situation. And then he just didn't. And I thought to myself, I really feel abused.
That's funny. I didn't expect that.
I took it personally. That wasn't politics anymore. That was not politics anymore. That was me personally.
It's a personal.
I feel like he screwed me. Personally. And then I had to sit there stewing in that. And then this white nationalist, or the white supremacist question comes up, and he botched it. It was a layup. It was free money sitting on the fucking table, and he left it there.
That's interesting. I mean, this is probably performative.
He left me just exposed. So he lost my vote.
It's
Can
quite
he get
loud.
It back? Yeah, all he'd have to do.
Is that lying? Because if you guys lie to me when I ask a sincere question, the new precedent is I'm going to time you out for 10 minutes.
That. I mean, how hard is it to fix it? Well, apparently it's pretty fucking hard for him because he's taken 3 years since Charlottesville, and he hasn't fucking fixed it yet.
I'm timing you up, bitch.
Fucking thinking he'd ever fix.
New rule. New rule. Okay. I wonder how many people are like this. I wonder how many. I think it's like 10 guys. I doubt it's that many people, but that's interesting.
Which is real, is diluted because they're cogs in a giant machine. And so all the culture gets worse, and it gets more inclusive and more cynically inclusive, and people see that and say,
holy fuck. This is the funniest shit ever, dude. No, okay, it was bullshit. Alright. No, he got me. I learned that agreeing with Democrats makes him hate me extra, so I will be voting for Trump. That's all that was required. That's all that's required for getting the guy who was just turned off of Trump being a white supremacist. All that was required is just people were mean to me online. Okay, it's all bullshit. Yeah, no one's gonna care about that.
it's the inclusion that makes this bad. No, it's not the inclusion that makes it bad. It's the way that the inclusion is being infused into this capitalist edifice through compelled, cynical utilization, which is a greater sign of just capital accumulation strangling art more broadly, because the stuff that the anti-woke people hate or love in culture, like guys being dudes and exploding cars and ownage and all that shit that I also dearly, dearly love, if that stuff is pursued in this context of maximal bottom line and maximal
the Dilbert guy's personal history is very weird.
For, like,
I think Shaka went over that like a couple years ago.
Sort of collective understood goal rating for every movie that has more than a few like dollars of pocket change committed to the budget from a major studio, that's gonna suck too, man. That would suck ass. It would just suck in a way that would be harder for those guys to notice. But and I'm not saying that people aren't going to be moved by something like Black Panther. That's how bad it is. That's how deeply entrenched racism is at all levels of culture, and how little representation, real representation, any minority sees in this fucking eye of Sauron.
Fanon sort of highlights this, that like one thing that happens when like colonialism, when there's this sort of like, and he highlights it in a decolonial context where like there's this wave of decolonial violence against the colonial institutions, and the colonists, the Europeans feel this pressure, and then one of the ways they respond is by this sort of minor recognition of the colonized humanity, and this is actually like quite a powerful or strong response, because the colonized subject has never experienced any form of like humanity or being recognized by the colonizer. So that's like that's quite a powerful sort of technique to ensure that like the structure of the thing is continuing of colonial exploitation that has caused this, but more subtly.
Everything, of course, you see, like anything looks like a crack of light through to the doorway looks like the fucking sunrise. And I don't begrudge anybody that. I'm just talking about the general trend of everything getting worse, and then things being indulged in by the stoots as a way to get some people on board more than they would otherwise. You're alienating some, but you're getting others on board, and the market equation is, in the long run, demographically, hey, who are we going to make more money with catering to? The rising, diverse young people of America, or white incels? who make up like the preponderance of the cultural conversation online about media. Where are you putting your money as a capitalist edifice? This is a no-brainer.
Yeah, yeah.
That just means that preponderantly we're going to see
profit,
worse woke stuff. But as things are worse and worse for people, it's going to look more consequential to people seeking anything else to mean anything than the fucking bullshit awfulness of their lives. Thank you for the hair. Thank you. The haircut, I did it myself. I gotta say, at the beginning of quarantine, and I think I said it on an couple early streams, I was like 50-50, at least already at that point, that I was gonna shave my head at some point, which I think is the guy's version of quarantine bangs.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna buzz this remnant, this forlorn hope here.
I was close to that.
I always assumed I'd get drunk.
I almost did that.
But, I stopped drinking so much more than anything, really, and I realized I never got to that point, and I'm glad. I feel like it means I never really hit bottom, even if things looked a little shaky from time to time. Or at least my bottom was higher than shaving my head. I guess it just means I'm
Matt
blessed
confirms bottom. Matt's a pog. He's a thought. He's a bottom. He's a nasty hoe. Etc.
I do have a square head, kind of, right? I'm a square head. Pretty much. One time Amber found a picture from Ellis
wet
Island
ass
online
Christman?
of a guy in like a Bavarian dude in lederhosen who had come in like the late 1800s through Ellis Island, and he was uncanny. He looked exactly like me. It was one of those Nick Cage time traveler.
My favorite, the funny shit considering that is like the groypers who accuse Matt Christman of being Jewish secretly. Because it's like especially just like how he looks and his last name, like you can't get more Christian than the last name Christman. It's like
memes. I gotta find it and post it sometime again. She had it on Twitter once, but of course her account's been nuked for a long time.
Yeah, like
maybe she has I'll find it somewhere. I don't know if I can Google Matthew Christman Bavarian oaf and find it. Oh yeah, I get to finally give my long-awaited opinion on the Euro cake. Somebody posted it in the chat, a Euro
Matt
cake
more
that I
Aryan than
clicked on, and it brought me to what looked like just 3 euros stacked on top of one another, basically, that presumably you cut into slices and eat instead of just wrapping around.
No, not this fucking thing. No, I will not be clicking on the Yusuf Hussein Biden meme.
Somebody asked if Good Morning Sunday Morning was QAnon code to the left. No, but give it a few years. Like, Nancy stays in power. Like, Biden gets in there and, we get the lid on a little bit and we kick the can down the road a little bit more, because that's just what we're doing. We're just pushing crises past the horizon. And that's all it's going to be. That's literally what capitalism is from crisis to crisis. There's no long-term plan. There can't be. It's just a value form annihilating all meaning and all life. Things are going to be bad enough that the Democratic voters are going to get so ensorcelled that they're going to have the same reverence and like fixated opinion on and analyzing of everything that one of their leaders does. So yeah, like when 95-year-old Nancy Pelosi is still Speaker of the House, which has been like relocated to Bangor, Maine, because the entire eastern seaboard south of Baltimore is gone. They will be scrying her words for meaning, the way that the Q people do for Trump.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Sunday morning.
Sunday morning. I love that so much.
That's great.
What?
What is... Because it was supposed to be, like, snarky, right? Like...
Because, you know, all those people, it's all gerontocracy. It's all just people losing their marbles.
Social.
And then, of course, there's Bernie, who people point out is just as old. But have you ever noticed that he's completely with it? And you know why?
He's totally
because he's
with
grounded.
it.
Because, unlike those psychos, he knows he's going to die. And he wants it to mean something.
That's true.
And that's why he's not lost in anywhere but himself. Because in himself, he can't bear it. He cannot bear to be himself. If you're Donald Trump or you're Joseph Biden, you can't bear to be yourself. Because you've spent your entire lives focusing yourself completely and totally around acquisition, built around an individual ego and the maintenance of and
I don't think so with Biden.
Into a world.
Biden's something else.
Power, global power that is at your fingertips, and you've destroyed countless lives to do it on purpose. But it's going to end. And even if you have convinced yourself you're immortal and that you don't think about death, that's just because you've crammed it so far down that it's driving you insane. It's driving you insane. And that's what's pushing, obviously, like, you know, bodily entropy does a lot to it, but there's something also driving it. There's something also pushing the fucking Play-Doh through the tube that, like, you know, the grate to give it a different shape. And that is this flight away from the reality of their mortality. Bernie, on the other hand, he doesn't have the ghosts that they do. He is not breathed by like the scores of the scores of victims. At least not as many. Of course, obviously, you know, he's a senator. He ran for president. He's got blood on his hands the way anybody in power does. But he truly, I believe, did those in a pursuit of a greater goal.
Yeah.
And I think that is what keeps him now.
Bernie does politics the way that, like, you would think that everyone, the way that you would describe a liberal democracy and what politicians do, the way that, like, you would think most people would do politics, which is like, I have a political goal and I will attempt to achieve that goal for some sort of social change for the betterment of society.
That's what keeps him on point. Because he doesn't have to flee from the moment where he's
dying.
dying.
Berkman got. Oh, what happened? I've been charged with multiple felonies in Michigan for a series of false robocalls that aim to dissuade residents in Detroit and other cities by voting mail. For voting mail. Oh my fucking god! Of course! Is this real? By the way, is this real? Because they've tricked the Washington Post already into thinking Berkman got raided by the FBI. And it was fake. It wasn't actually. This is the robocall. What is this? Oh, I don't what am I clicking here? Who sent this? Do I trust who sent this? Is this fine to play? I have no fucking clue what this is. Let me look at this. This is, I mean, is Jacob Wall 22? Jacob Wall is as old as me? I need to do shit with my life, man. What have I been doing? Jacob Wall is as old as I am? I feel like I've achieved so little in comparison to Wall. What am I doing with my life? I'm gonna have an existential crisis. Is this fine to play? What is this? It only gets worse. Warned residents in majority black Detroit and urban areas voting by mail could subject people to arrest, forced vaccinations. I mean, that's so wildly illegal. The fact that they've like, it's the call. Okay.
Hi, this is Tamika Taylor from Project 1599, the civil rights organization founded by Jack Berkman and Jacob Wool. Mail-in voting sounds great, but did you know that if you vote by mail, your
Wait, hold on. They're not even pretending it's not them. It's like, this message brought to you by Jacob Wall and Jack Berkman. You know, voting, if you vote by mail, you will be arrested.
Information will be part of a public database that will be used by police departments to track down old warrants and be used by credit card companies to collect outstanding debts. The CDC is even pushing to use records from mail-in voting to track people for mandatory vaccines. Don't be finessed into giving your private information to the man. Stay safe and beware of vote by mail. Hi.
That's the funniest way that they could go to jail. The funniest way that they could have possibly fucking went to jail. I mean, their lives are like, this is why I don't like, and I guess I was a hypocrite. I used this word liberally before, but I feel like the word grifter is way too fucking overused. Like, these are real grifters. Jacob Wall and Jack Berkman are real, actual grifters, like real snake oil salesmen of the highest possible degree. It's to a comical extent. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's really funny. Both denied involvement. Holy fuck. It wasn't us. It was another Jacob Wall and Jack Berkman. That's incredible. For years in prison. Yeah. 7 years apiece, while the election law violations could bring up 5. Maints of nuisance robocalls, flooding our cell phones. Michigan voters are entitled to a full, free, and fair election. Yeah. 85,000 calls. 12,000 residents. Wow. I mean, they're really fucking doing it big. The funniest result of this is the idea that Trump was like paying them money. Somewhat like, not even Trump, like Trump Jr., you know? Like one of the like fail son, like Trump family, like side characters was paying Jack and Jacob to do this. I think that would be the fun. Yeah, and then, oh, of course. And then Trump pardons them. Trump wins the election in November, because this is gonna like, this trial will probably last at least a couple months. And then Trump wins in November and then pardons them immediately. Trump can't even pardon them? Why not? Is that not how that works? I thought he could just pardon anyone. He was like, yeah, you're fine. Yeah, that's hilarious. I mean, that's the funniest way for them to go to jail. So, oh, is it only federal crimes? I didn't know that. Okay, well, I guess that won't happen. Regardless, this is very funny. Yeah, it's super funny. I mean, it's what they deserve. It's absurd that this hasn't already happened. I mean, Jacob Wall does have a felony. It's just he didn't do any time for it, I believe. But yeah, that's...
He can stay in the moment.
What else
because,
can
he's dying. So, I got stuff to do.
Oh, this is loud, sorry.
Neither Biden or Trump can be in the moment, because the moment is death. The moment is decrepitude. The moment is confusion, fear, dimming, bodily failure, and the terror that cannot be felt, because it is everything. It was totalizing. It's death itself, because it's right there. Nancy and I feel like, because I'm a guy, I think I get Trump and Biden's specific senile like flight from the moment of mortality, but Pelosi, because I think she's a woman, and there's certain experiences that aren't
women drive their cars like
one
this.
Or the other of those divides.
Men drive their cars like this.
She ends up going, good morning.
Sunday morning.
But it's the same thing, I think. It's the same phenomenon.
Sure. I think that's correct.
But, yeah, because, we all think of the real horror of life is the knowledge that we're going to die someday. And that's not really it. It's the fact that we, once again, have two things that are true that we're trying to hold in our head simultaneously. The one thing we're keeping in our head that we think is true is the culturally imposed idea that we're going to die someday in the future, which I believe is sitting on top of a deeper biological understanding that we all already died. Everyone has already died.
What is it like being towards corpse?
All happened before. It will all
as
happen
opposed
again.
to towards dying.
This universe that we're in has winked out of existence countless times. You have already, your gravestone
He looks
has
insane.
both
He is
dates on
insane.
it.
Who isn't insane?
All of ours do.
Who is not insane?
Eternal recurrence, baby. And the thing is, if you know that, if you have that,
the body
in
is
background,
rotting.
the way that
We're
when you watch a
moving
debate, you
towards
have
corpse.
the knowledge that this doesn't have any
It's a sort of
syntactic meaning to it in the
necropolitics.
background, living becomes
Add
much
Tom
easier.
Arnold to the chat on your main. I'll add him, sure. He's gonna unfollow me. You're gonna, Maya Milka Paul. You're gonna make fucking Tom Arnold unfollow me. But I guess I don't use my Twitter, so it doesn't matter.
And it's like you're on flight 93 and it's going into the fucking the field. Like, there's no thing
It's a
that
group
ends with
chat I'm
anything
in.
other than
He'll
the
love the
fucking
chat?
plane
Okay.
crashing and you dying. The only thing
I'll
that
fucking add
matters
him right
is,
now.
are you at the chair bashing
You
your
guys don't
head
get to
in
see this.
terror
This is a
against
private
the
chat.
glass, screaming,
For
your
for
mind
cool
annihilated
Twitter
with a fear
people.
that you can't even comprehend?
How do I
Or
do this?
are you the actual Flight 93 itself? Are
I
you
have to log on
aware?
to my
Are you
fucking-
able to connect emotion and intellectual belief in symbolic order in such a way to believe the fundamental truth that you're not fucking separated from anything and that there's nothing to lose? There is no such thing as death. But that's very hard to keep in mind when you live in this world.
You
It
won't let me add
insists to you
people.
every moment of the
Add
day
people.
and every interaction you have, that strips you of your species being, whips it from you, tears it from you like your skin off
All
your
right, I
fucking
added
body,
Tom
like
Arnold.
you're a flayed man of House Bolton. And replaces it with this, no, you're gonna die someday. You're gonna end. This is gonna be over. Which leads you in the horrible Skinner box where all you're really doing is fleeing from towards desire and away from or towards pain and away from pleasure, or towards pleasure and away from pain, which means you do not have any independence. You are literally an automat. You're a mechanical symbol monkey. And we all are ruled by that to an extent. I mean, we do know we're here. We do know that when we end, they're not getting any more of this. We know that that's true, but the degree to which that matters is the degree to which we can live connected to that other knowledge. And guys like Trump and guys like Biden have spent their entire life banging their heads with a fucking ladle to keep them on the path of acquisition of power and respect and money and their dad's head pats or whatever they think heaven is, instead of knowing that it's right there, always in any moment. We're always right there. Grace is there. The hand is there. You
Matt's
fall,
gonna turn
you'll
into
never
some weird
land.
syncretic
You'll always be
preacher.
held as you're falling. And that's the realization.
He looks like a Bavarian
robs-
monk, absolutely.
That robs the questions of our life, what to do with the time we do have, of their mystifying bedevilments, things that make us make wrong decisions, emotions clouding us, memories of previous events that are going to guide us in an event that doesn't need that can be answered in the moment. But that's overwhelmed. The task of building a sane and humane society is building one where that knowledge can be accessible to more people, because the more accessible it is, the more people will not need to be governed by an external authority like the market and fucking value form.
Do you know how to translate word book on Russian? I do not, I'm sorry. Can anyone help out a friend, Metamorpheus? How do you translate the word book into Russian?
It will be because we have stripped our days of the need to pile up.
Oh, does it look like the N-word?
And
oh,
not
okay.
be in the moment.
It's an epic own. Oh, that's funny. That's a good one. That's a good one. Haha, it looks like the N-word.
When you cry, it's not
Fucking
because you
bitch.
feel
I'm
sad.
timing
You
you
feel
out.
sad after you cry. Like, we know that for a fact because of the delay of signal. It's inevitable. It's a quantum question. So we aren't actually in charge of any of this. Like, we can't operate from that perspective because we have to live. But it's true. And if we're aware of that truth, it makes it easier to act. That is, do what you should be doing. And not try to bang against that destiny. Because you can move one
That's
foot in
like,
front of
I mean, that is just an extension of a thing I would do in grade 3, which is ask my friends how to say seal in French.
front of your other,
And it sounds like
as
fuck.
long as you're looking down. But if you're looking everywhere else,
Be like, ha, I want to seal in French your mom. Got him. Proud Boy member appears in official Trump campaign video. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's not a surprise.
Someone's saying, tell everyone else how to live. That's the thing. I'm not telling anybody else how to live. The whole point of all of this is telling you that I can't tell you how to live. That you have to know how to live. We all have to figure it out ourselves. And right now, the only thing that makes sense to me to do with whatever I find myself with in possession of the moment.
I mean, this is all a pure product of the leftist, like, project of class consciousness being, like, not that possible at the moment. So it's like, we gotta do fucking something, I guess.
Career, laughably called such. This skill set developed in the pursuit of those things. What do I do with them? And right now, this is what makes sense to do with them. And I have to trust that if that feels like it's not true anymore, that I can divorce myself from the need to acquire the moment.
Sorry, I added Tom Arnold to a group chat I'm in, and he's like really talking. It's very funny.
The need to
shout out Tom Arnold.
To distort my vision of what's in front of me by the fear of
Tom Arnold
lacking
rocks.
something in the future. And then you can fucking act, as in act according to where you should do what should be happening.
Invite Tom on the
way,
stream.
the
I should.
path.
I should invite Tom on the
It's
stream.
always there. So I'm not telling anybody how to live for the love of God.
Is he still married
The
to
only
his
thing I ever say is what boils down
I
to
should
the
ask
same thing.
him.
Every time I say
He
about
follows
it,
me on
everything I said
Twitter.
today about the fucking election all boils down to the same dumb 2 words, log off. And I know, of hypocrites, I'm doing this. I know.
Me and Matt are on the same wavelength there. I think we arrived at this at the same kind
Every
of.
time I say about it, and everything I said today about the fucking election all boils down to the same dumb 2 words, log off. And I know, hypocrite of hypocrites, I'm doing this. I know. But you could not tell when you say log off.
What me and Matt telling you guys to log off is like Plato going back into the cave to try to get people out of it.
You can't just smugly say that's it, because
that's a serious analogy, by the way.
Asking people.
I am Plato, he is Socrates.
Essentially withdraw.
You are all
the
stupid Athenians.
Withdrawal symptoms of
that
I can't even
used stupid democracy to vote Socrates to death because he was so annoying.
Imagine the monstrosity of which I haven't been able to cut off the internet, and I tell myself it's just because of my job. But I also
Charmel, thank you for the 6 months.
I also find this sinful.
I agree.
Dump of emotional energy. I find that tantalizing, and so I engage from that perspective. And I try to wean myself. So That's why it always ends up having to be turned into these longer diatribes coming at it from different angles to make up one great big banal truth that is the whole sum of like the praxis of this fucking show. Log off. What that means to you, sure. What you can take, what steps you can realistically take, as opposed to, no, I'm gonna get DTs for the next 5 months out of some, how would I even be able to sustain the faith to keep going with that kind of hardship? You'd never be able to do it. I know I wouldn't be. That's all I can say. Like the faith that's there has to be in some way rewarded, or else the horrors of the world will overwhelm your defenses and will take you out of the moment. And everything else is entertainment, like I said. So
shit to live for not running ads.
There's one big thing you
I just don't press the ad button. You might start getting them because there's like pre-roll ads and I have no say in those.
The thing like the debate, and there's no meaning here. There's one, but
so
then
many
there's
times on this
the aesthetic enjoyment of watching it play out and making fun of it and stuff like that. Drained of meaning. Same thing, but drained of not drained of meaning if you take it, but drained of import. It's play instead of war, like I'm saying. The war is log off. Just like the war of the election was stop listening to these people. Everything else is entertainment.
Oh yeah, so go to my Discord, follow it.
Find it entertaining?
It'll ping you when I go live.
I think it's probably better than yelling at people on Twitter for an hour. Watching this, I think, is better than yelling on Twitter for an hour. I will flatter myself to say that.
Vibing in my chat is better. I mean, Twitter is the worst mode of being online. It's truly the most miserable. If you want to be the saddest you could possibly be, then I would recommend going on Twitter.
You're gonna do that instead of that? I mean, I know that's that's rationalizing to me. It's rationalizing to
Reddit
people
is not worse.
Those sort of
you will have a much worse time on Twitter than on Reddit.
Negotiations with oneself are what give you the leeway to find, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought it would be. Oh, look, I'm rewarded in this way with this, instead of just having this giant void that has to be filled immediately when you don't know how to do that yet. You can work your way towards it, as we all do, weaning ourselves off. All right, did that make sense, guys?
Yeah, it was good. I like that. The Liz on Resistance. Let's watch some Liz.
Alors, R, c'est R comme résistance et non religion.
Oui.
Comme tu l'as dit dans une récente conférence à la FEMIS, la philosophie crée des concepts. Et dès qu'on crée, comme tu l'as dit dans cette conférence, on résiste. Alors, les artistes, les cinéastes, les musiciens, les mathématiciens, les philosophes, tous ces gens-là résistent.
Les posters.
Ils résistent à quoi, exactement? D'abord, on va prendre par cas. La philosophie, elle crée des concepts. Mais la science, elle en crée des concepts, elle?
Non, là, c'est des questions de mots un peu claires. Parce que si on convient, là, si on convient de réserver le mot concept pour philosophie, bon, ben, les notions scientifiques, les idées scientifiques, il faut les désigner d'un autre mot. On ne dit pas d'un artiste non plus qui crée des concepts. Un peintre, un musicien ne crée pas des concepts, il crée autre chose. Alors, pour la science, il faudrait trouver d'autres mots.
This is a part of, if you want to read more about this, you can, Liz has a book called, I believe, On Philosophy, which she conceptualizes, like, the two main nodes of, like, modes of knowledge, or three main modes is, like, the sort of creative sphere, the scientific, and the philosophical.
Par exemple, un savant,
and the reason why there's no full philosophical progress is because philosophy is about developing a mode of understanding the world that is like always self-referential and referential to one's society. So there's no way for it to transcend, as opposed to science, which is like a...
Qui crée des fonctions, mettons. Je ne dis pas que ce soit le meilleur mot. Il crée des fonctions, mais des fonctions, ça se crée autant, tu comprends? créer de nouvelles fonctions.
It's D&G, you're right, it's guitar as well.
Les grands mathématiciens, mais pas seulement les mathématiciens, les physiciens, les biologistes, ils créent des fonctions. Eh ben, en quoi c'est résister ça?
This is what happens when you're like an annoying French philosopher all your life, is the smoking catches up to you.
C'est plus net pour les arts.
Same thing happened to Sartre.
La science, elle est dans une position plus ambiguë. C'est un peu comme le cinéma. Elle est prise dans de tels problèmes de programmes, de capitaux, tout ça, que les parts de résistance. Mais enfin, les grands savants, c'est quand même aussi de grands résistants. On pense à Einstein, à beaucoup de physiciens, à beaucoup de biologistes aujourd'hui, c'est évident. Ils résistent d'abord aux entraînements et aux vœux de l'opinion courante, c'est-à-dire à tout ce domaine d'interrogation imbécile. Ils exigent ils ont vraiment la force d'exiger leur rythme à eux. On leur fera pas lâcher n'importe quoi dans des conditions prématurées. Tout ça, c'est tout comme on bousculera pas un artiste. Personne n'a le droit de bousculer un artiste. Mais je crois que tout ça, c'est parce que créer ce soit résister, c'est parce que moi, je crois, je vais te dire, et il y a un auteur que j'ai lu récemment, moi, qui me frappe beaucoup à cet égard, c'est que je crois qu'un des motifs
Hello,
de
Proletariat, you came at the best time.
C'est une certaine honte d'être un homme. Je crois que l'homme qui l'a le dit, l'artiste, l'écrivain qui l'a le dit le plus profondément, c'est Primo Levi. Il a su parler de cette honte d'être un homme, et lui, il l'a fait à un niveau extrêmement profond, puisque c'est à la suite de son retour des camps d'extermination qu'il en sort avec. Il dit, oui, quand j'ai été libéré, ce qui dominait, c'était la honte d'être un homme. Alors, c'est une phrase à la fois très splendide, je crois, très belle, et puis c'est pas de l'abstrait, hein, c'est très, très concret, la honte d'être un homme. Mais elle ne veut pas dire les bêtises qu'on risque de lui faire dire. Hein. Ça ne veut pas dire nous sommes tous des assassins, ou ça ne veut pas dire nous sommes tous coupables. Par exemple, nous sommes tous coupables devant le nazisme. Primo Levi, il le dit admirablement, il dit ça ne veut pas dire que les bourreaux et les victimes, ce soient les mêmes. Hein. Ça, on ne nous fera pas croire ça. Il y a beaucoup de gens qui nous racontent, ah oui, on est tous coupables. Mais non, rien du tout. Hein. On ne fera pas confondre le bourreau et la victime, ça. Donc, la honte d'être un homme, ça ne veut pas dire on est tous pareils, hein, on est tous compromis, etc. Mais ça veut dire, je crois, plusieurs choses. C'est un sentiment complexe et pas un sentiment unifié. La honte d'être un homme, ça veut dire à la fois comment est-ce que des hommes ont pu faire ça, des hommes, c'est-à-dire d'autres que moi. Comment est-ce qu'ils ont pu faire ça? Et deuxièmement, comment est-ce que moi j'ai quand même pactisé? Je ne suis pas devenu un bourreau, mais j'ai quand même pactisé assez pour survivre. Et puis, une certaine honte précisément d'avoir survécu à la place de certains amis qui, eux, ne sont pas survécus, tout ça. C'est donc un sentiment extrêmement composite, la honte d'être un homme. Moi, je crois qu'à la base de l'art, il y a cette idée ou ce sentiment très vif, une certaine honte d'être un homme qui fait que l'art, ça consiste à libérer la vie que l'homme a emprisonnée. L'homme ne cesse pas d'emprisonner la vie, ne cesse pas de tuer la vie. La honte d'être un homme. L'artiste, c'est celui qui libère une vie puissante, une vie plus que personnelle. C'est pas sa vie.
Bon, moi, je te relance sur artiste et résistance. C'est-à-dire que cette part de honte d'être un homme, l'art libère la vie dans cette prison, quoi, dans cette prison de honte. Mais c'est très différent de la sublimation. Enfin, l'art n'est pas du tout... c'est vraiment une résistance.
Non, c'est un lâcher de la vie, c'est une libération de la vie. Qu'est-ce que c'est que... Et là, c'est pas du tout des choses abstraites. Qu'est-ce que c'est qu'un grand personnage de roman? Un grand personnage de roman, c'est pas un personnage emprunté au réel et même gonflé. Charlus, c'est pas Montesquieu. Hein. C'est pas Montesquieu, même gonflé par l'imagination géniale de Proust. Hein. Tout ça, c'est des puissances de vie fantastiques. Hein. C'est des puissances de vie fantastiques si mal que ça tourne, tu comprends? un personnage de roman. Il a intégré en lui des mondes. C'est une espèce de géant, quoi. C'est une espèce de géant, c'est une exagération par rapport à la vie, mais c'est pas une exagération par rapport à l'art. Ben, l'art, il est production de ces exagérations. Et c'est par leur seule existence que c'est déjà de la résistance. Ou bien, comme on disait, alors on rejoint notre premier thème, écrire, c'est toujours écrire pour les animaux. C'est-à-dire pas à leur intention, mais à leur place. C'est ce que les animaux ne feraient pas, c'est par écrire. Bon, libérer la vie. Libérer la vie des prisons que l'homme... et c'est ça résister. C'est ça résister, je ne sais pas. On le voit bien avec ce que les artistes font. Je veux dire, il n'y a pas d'art qui ne soit une libération d'une puissance de vie. Il n'y a pas d'art de la mort, d'abord.
Quelquefois, l'art ne suffit pas. Primo Levi, il a fini par se suicider. Bien longtemps après.
Il s'est suicidé personnellement. Ça oui, il ne pouvait pas tenir le coup. Il a suicidé sa vie personnelle, oui. Ouais. Il y a 4 pages, ou 12 pages, ou 100 pages de Primo Levi.
I see the point.
Qui resteront des résistances éternelles.
Which is, I mean, if we think about what's being said before, like, one of the reasons why Bernie is still with it, whereas, like, Biden, Pelosi, and Trump are all going fucking insane, is because if we can conceptualize Bernie's politic as a resistance of some fucking sort, it's a movement of, like, life, and a moving towards life, not towards death. It's something beyond a simple, like, living towards one's own death. That gives him, in a certain sense, some sort of, like, vibrancy.
À ce qui s'est passé. Et alors, bien plus, quand je parle de la honte d'être un homme, c'est même pas au sens grandiose de Primo Levi, tu comprends? Parce que si on ose dire une chose comme ça, mais chacun de nous, dans notre vie quotidienne, il y a des événements minuscules qui nous inspirent la honte d'être un homme. On assiste à une scène où quelqu'un vraiment est un peu trop vulgaire. On ne va pas faire une scène, on est gêné. On est gêné pour lui. On est gêné pour soi, puisqu'on a l'air de le supporter presque. Là aussi, on passe une espèce de compromis. Et si on protestait en disant « mais c'est ignoble ce que tu dis », on en ferait un drame. On est piégé, on éprouve là, alors. Ça ne se compare pas avec Auschwitz. Mais même à ce niveau minuscule, il y a une petite honte d'être un homme. Si on n'éprouve pas cette honte, il n'y a pas de raison de faire de l'art.
Shame in this sense isn't a negative.
Mais quand tu crées, justement,
Shame is this sort of productive force. It's not like a closing back of possibility. It's a
un artiste, tu sens ces dangers.
A building up.
Les dangers qui entourent. Il y a des dangers partout.
Bah, évidemment. Oui.
It's not what Sartre writes about shame.
En philosophie aussi. C'est ce que disait Nietzsche, une philosophie qui nuit pas à la bêtise. Nuire à la bêtise. Résister à la bêtise. Mais s'il n'y avait pas de philosophie, les gens, ils font comme si la philosophie, après tout, c'est bon pour les conversations d'après-dîner. Mais s'il n'y avait pas de philosophie, on ne se doute pas du niveau de la bêtise. La philosophie, elle empêche la bêtise d'être aussi grande qu'elle serait s'il n'y avait pas de philosophie. C'est sa splendeur. On ne se doute pas de ce que ce serait. Tout comme s'il n'y avait pas les arts, mais la vulgarité des gens. Tu sais. Alors quand on dit...
that is also very funny, considering how, like, quite vulgar, comparatively speaking, a lot of Deleuze's work is.
C'est résister, c'est effectif, je veux dire. Le monde ne serait pas ce qu'il est s'il n'y avait pas l'art.
I don't need subtitles. That makes me better philosophy than life. Am I going to have to cancel philosophy?
Les gens ne se tiendraient plus. C'est pas qu'ils lisent la philosophie, mais c'est sa seule existence qui empêche les gens d'être aussi stupides et aussi bêtes qu'ils le seraient s'il n'y avait pas
Et toi, par exemple, quand on annonce la mort de la pensée, tu sais qu'il y a des gens qui annoncent la mort de la pensée, la
How
mort
with
du
this
cinéma.
bitch? You guys have to read fucking subtitles too. You're gonna read his lips? How are you like that, Proletaire?
Okay, never mind. Naturel, non. Pour une raison simple. Tant que quelque chose ne tiendra pas et ne prendra pas la fonction de la philosophie aura toute raison de subsister. Et si quelque chose d'autre prend la fonction de la philosophie, je ne vois pas en quoi c'est autre chose que de la philosophie. Si on dit, par exemple, la philosophie, ça consiste à créer des concepts, et par là, à nuire à la bêtise, à empêcher la bêtise, bon, qu'est-ce que tu veux qu'elle meure, la philosophie? On peut l'empêcher, on peut la censurer, on peut l'assassiner, mais elle a une fonction. Elle ne va pas mourir. Mais la mort de la philosophie, ça m'a toujours paru une idée, mais d'imbécile, quoi. C'est une idée idiote. C'est pas que je tienne je suis très content qu'elle ne meure pas, mais je comprends même pas ce que ça veut dire, la mort de la philosophie. Ça me paraît une idée un peu débile, quoi, gentillette, pour dire quelque chose, quoi. Pour dire les choses changent, il n'y a plus de raison que... Mais qu'est-ce qui va remplacer la philosophie? Qu'est-ce qui va créer des concepts? Alors on peut me dire, il faut plus créer de concepts.
But I mean, I feel like some of that is like people have different definitions of philosophy than Deleuze does.
Très bien, c'est les idiots qui, ils veulent la peau de la philosophie, très bien. Mais qu'est-ce qui va créer des concepts?
The chat censored French fuck. Which is weird considering that that's like the thing that the French do.
Les publicitaires, ils emploient le mot concept. Très bien, et ben on aura les concepts de publicité, c'est le concept d'une marque de nouilles. Ça risque pas de faire beaucoup de rivalité avec la philosophie, parce que je crois pas que le mot concept soit employé de la même manière. Mais aujourd'hui, c'est plutôt la publicité qui se présente comme la rivale directe de la philosophie, puisqu'ils nous disent, c'est nous qui inventons les concepts. Hein? Mais les concepts de l'informatique, les concepts des ordinateurs, ça fait plutôt rire ce qu'ils appellent un concept. Oui, faut pas s'en faire, ça.
Like the concept as a sort of this weird objective capital having some sort of influence in our consciousness, or attempts to like chew things before we swallow them. No meaningful like subjectivity, which sort of gets to this idea of like hypercapitalism subsuming the subject in the object, that there's no room for the object, and the work of philosophy is in the realm of the subject.
Former des réseaux de concepts comme des réseaux de résistance, comme une machine de guerre contre une pensée dominante ou des lieux communs.
Ça, oui, pourquoi pas. Ce serait bien, si c'était vrai, ce serait très bien. En tout cas, le réseau est...
Wait, what was the question? Sorry, I missed...
mais les concepts, c'est plutôt rire, ce qu'ils appellent un concept. Oui, faut pas s'en faire, ça.
Est-ce qu'on peut dire que toi, Félix Foucault, vous formez des réseaux de concepts comme des réseaux de résistance, comme une machine de guerre contre une pensée dominante ou des lieux communs?
Ça, oui, pourquoi pas. Ce serait bien, si c'était vrai, ce serait très bien. En tout cas, le réseau est sûrement le seul... si on ne fait pas des écoles, et les écoles, ça me paraît pas très très bon, encore une fois. Si on ne fait pas des écoles, il n'y a que le régime des réseaux, des complicités, bien sûr, ça a toujours été comme ça, d'ailleurs, à toutes les époques. Ce qu'on appelle le romantisme, par exemple, ce qu'on appelle le romantisme allemand ou le romantisme en général, c'est un réseau. Ce qu'on appelle le dadaïsme,
the
c'est un
subtitles.
réseau.
I'm sorry, Sean. I hope you feel better. Will this help? Oh my god, it does this when I go full screen. This might be easier for mobile viewers. Let me fucking...
Oui. Alors qu'il y a des réseaux aujourd'hui, j'en suis sûr, oui.
Réseau de résistance.
Par là même, la fonction du réseau, c'est de résister, oui, et de créer, oui.
Et toi, tu te sens par exemple célèbre et clandestin? Cette notion de clandestinité, tu y tiens un peu?
Je ne tiens pas, je ne me sens pas célèbre, je ne me sens pas clandestin, je voudrais en effet être imperceptible. Ça, mais il y a beaucoup de gens qui veulent être imperceptibles, ça ne veut pas dire d'ailleurs que je ne le sois pas. Mais être imperceptible, c'est bien parce que on peut... oui, mais ça, c'est des questions alors presque personnelles. Moi, ce que je veux, c'est faire mon travail, c'est qu'on m'embête pas, qu'on me fasse pas perdre de temps, oui. Mais en même temps, voir des gens, parce que j'ai besoin, je suis comme tout le monde, j'aime les gens. Enfin, j'aime un petit nombre de gens, j'aime les voir. Mais quand je les vois, je voudrais pas que ça fasse le moindre problème, quoi. Des rapports imperceptibles avec des gens imperceptibles, c'est ce qu'il y a de plus beau au monde, quoi. Je veux dire, on est tous des molécules, quoi. C'est une molécule de réseau, un réseau moléculaire, quoi, oui.
Est-ce qu'il y a une stratégie de la philosophie? Par exemple, quand tu écris sur Leibniz cette année, est-ce que c'est stratégiquement que tu écris sur Leibniz maintenant?
Je suppose que ça dépend ce que veut dire stratégie. Ça veut dire on n'écrit pas sans une certaine nécessité. S'il n'y a pas de nécessité à faire un livre, c'est-à-dire de nécessité ressentie par celui qui le fait, ben, vaut mieux qu'il ne le fasse pas. Donc quand j'ai écrit sur Leibniz, c'est que pour moi c'était nécessaire. Et pourquoi c'était nécessaire? Parce que était venu pour moi le moment, ce serait trop long à expliquer, parler non pas de Leibniz, mais du pli. Et que le pli, bah, il se trouvait que, pour moi, il était à ce moment-là fondamentalement relié à Leibniz. Mais ça, je pourrais dire de chaque livre que j'ai fait, quelle en était la nécessité à l'époque.
Gonzo is right.
Non, mais à part la grippe de la nécessité...
I'm getting roasted by the fucking alien from that stupid...
Je veux dire,
was it the alien or was Gonzo the chicken?
Un philosophe, comme de l'histoire de la philosophie, après les livres sur le cinéma, ou les livres comme Mille Plateaux ou l'Anti-Édipe, est-ce que dans cette ère...
Il n'y a pas eu retour à un philosophe.
Was it the Muppets?
C'est pour ça que je répondais correctement à ta question. Je n'ai pas écrit un livre sur Leibniz, je n'ai écrit un livre sur Leibniz.
Gonzo's... Well, how about this fucking Gonzo? Stop trying to have sex with that chicken.
Pour moi...
Didn't he want to fuck a chicken? I can't actually remember.
C'était qu'un pli.
I was very young when I watched
the Muppets. Je fais l'histoire de la philosophie quand j'en ai besoin, c'est-à-dire quand je rencontre et que j'éprouve une notion qui est elle-même liée déjà à un philosophe.
Get his ass. I got him.
Quand je me suis passionné pour la notion d'expression, j'ai fait
We still do Among Us? Probably not today. I might organize some Among Us shit for like people who want to play in the Discord. Which might not necessarily involve me, but like if you want a place to play Among Us, for people who are like chill, and not racist or whatever, please join my Discord.
C'est un philosophe qui a monté la notion d'expression à un point extrêmement
not racist, yes, that's the requirement. I'm sorry.
Ça me paraissait
I'm sorry, guy looking in your window, which I believe that's Nick Mullen. Your profile picture in chainmail, which is a very funny photo of him. I apologize if you do not meet the requirements. That was interesting, this video.
Ce serait à travers Leibniz que... Alors, il m'arrive de rencontrer des notions qui sont pas déjà vouées à un philosophe. À ce moment-là, je ne ferai pas de l'histoire de la philosophie. Mais pour moi, il n'y a pas de différence entre faire un livre d'histoire de la philosophie et faire un livre de philosophie. Donc,
Settlers can't be not racist. You're right. Fuck. I forgot to read Settlers. Again. Shit. Okay. I'll probably end the stream here. You guys all left when I played Deliz, so you don't deserve my stream. No, I'm kidding. I'm done anyways. Thank you for watching, folks. I have a shit ton of like stuff in the queue though. Oh, there are some like there's some short things we can watch here. This is Joe Biden getting distracted by a train, which I really like. I really enjoy this.
And here comes the train that he tried to make sure didn't continue to run. No, that's the commuter. All right. No, that's what.
That's what.
Folks, look.
But
and here comes the train.
He's just transfixed on the fucking train, and I love it. I love him. He rocks. If anything, the funniest, the best reason to vote for Biden is that he's funny. He's much funnier than Trump is. Much better content to the stream. This is something I've been thinking. I think that being a Twitch streamer is possibly the most reactionary social class you can be a part of. regardless of what any left streamer tells you, it's like right under small business tyrant. Because like I'm only able to conceive of politics insofar as like what is the funniest thing that could happen. That is the most content for me to talk about on my fucking Twitch stream. And I think that's bad. It's really corrupting my understanding of the world. Anyways, that's on that note. We're done for today. I'll talk to you guys on Saturday because I don't stream on Fridays. Great stream today. Thank you, guy looking through your window. Who should I raid? Who's live? Who's live? I raid Bad Bunny. I haven't raided her in a while. Friend of the stream. Yeah, I'll see you guys. Goodbye. See you on Saturday. Join my Discord again. Maybe we'll get some fucking Fall Guys, or not Fall Guys, Among Us things. If you want a place to like organize them, and also it'll ping you when I go live too, which is pretty pog. It lets you know every time I go live on Twitch. Okay, goodbye everyone. Is anyone still watching? Does it send all of you? I've never. I guess I can't see the chat anymore. Yes, I can. Is anyone still here? No? Okay, goodbye.